Chapter 1603. On the other side, the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult had a hideous expression on their faces. Even Elder Zhang's expression was as heavy as water. Boom, 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 boom. Another earth-shattering explosion rang out as the stage exploded with resplendent light. Then, the azure dragon sword shadow directly shattered the blood-colored moon. What? It's broken. How is this possible? Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. They realized that Niulang's king's domain had been shattered. It was simply unbelievable. No, damn it, I don't believe it. Niulang roared madly. At the same time, he spat out mouthfuls of blood. His face was pale and his body was on the verge of collapsing. The shattering of his king's domain had caused him severe injuries. He was afraid that he would soon become a cripple. He couldn't accept it. On the other hand, Lin Xian snorted coldly and waved his arm. A dazzling sword light shot forward once again. What? He wants to continue? At the sight of this scene, the scalps of the crowd went numb. It seemed like Lin Xian really wanted to kill Niulang. Stop! Suddenly, a cold voice rang out. It turned out that it was the elder of the moon-worshipping cult. It was the Reverence Moon Elder. His face was gloomy. His gaze was like lightning. It was unusually cold. Stop! On the stage, Lin Xian sneered, "This is a battle of life and death. It will only end when one side dies." You actually want me to stop? What a joke. However, the Reverence Moon Elder snorted coldly. His eyes were like two sharp blades that shook the void. Niulang is my moon-worshipping cult's holy prince candidate. His status is incomparably noble. Are you sure you want to kill him? Young man, even if you have some strength, don't be too arrogant. The moon-worshipping cult isn't something you can provoke. I advise you to obediently let Niulang go. Otherwise, you will be killed. Everyone felt their scalps go numb when they heard the Reverence Moon Elder's words. It seemed like the Reverence Moon Elder was really angry. He didn't even hesitate to threaten Lin Xian. Lin Xian sneered. You dare to threaten me? I hate it when people threaten me. Therefore, Niulang must die. In the next moment, he mercilessly waved his arm, and the sharp sword light quickly slashed down. Like a graceful swan, it instantly blasted onto Niulang's body. How dare you? Seeing that the other party wasn't afraid of his threat at all, he continued to make a move. The Reverence Moon Elder's expression was extremely ugly. However, in the next moment, he was stunned. His eyes even widened in disbelief. That was because the sword light had directly sliced Niulang in half, and his blood dyed the sky red. What? Killed? Cowherd was actually killed. Everyone felt their scalps go numb, and their bodies trembled. This scene was too shocking. A dignified Holy Sun candidate was actually killed by a single sword strike. Not only the surrounding disciples, but even the moon-worshipping cult's martial artists were terrified, and their scalps went numb. They looked at Lin Xian with fear in their eyes. As for Lin Xian, he stood with his hands clasped behind his back and looked around disdainfully. His body was surrounded by sharp sword light, making him look like a sword god, extremely powerful. Brat, go to hell. Suddenly, the moon-worshipping cult's elder snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, a resplendent light blasted towards Niulang. The power was terrifying, and it made everyone suck in a breath of cold air. It was obvious that the Reverence Moon Elder's strength was above Niulang's. Not good, that brat is finished. What? The moon-worshipping cult's elder actually made a move? A group of people was shocked, and their scalps went numb. Damned old man. Brother Lin, be careful. Fatty Luo and Du Fei cried out in alarm. On the stage, Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He hadn't expected the Reverence Moon-worshipping cult's elder to make a move. However, even if the Reverence Moon-worshipping cult attacked, so what? His figure moved, and he executed Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps. His speed reached the limit, and he disappeared from the spot in an instant. Boom! The entire stage shook, and cracks appeared in the void. However, the palm strike missed, and it didn't hurt Lin Xian at all. What? So fast? Everyone was shocked. They already knew that Lin Xian's speed was fast. However, they didn't expect him to be so fast. Even the reverence moon-worshipping cult's elder's attack couldn't hit him. Damn it, what kind of footwork is that? Even the reverence moon-worshipping cult's elder was shocked. With a roar, he wanted to attack again. However, Lin Xian sneered. What a shameless reverence moon-worshipping cult. The young one can't beat you, and now you want the old one to make a move. He was truly a laughingstock of the world. Everyone was shocked to hear this, and the reverence moon-worshipping cult's elder roared, Damn brat, what did you say? What did I say? I said you're shameless. What's your cultivation? How old are you? You want to attack me? You really don't know shame. Is the reverence moon-worshipping cult full of shameless people? Or are you saying that the younger generation is trash? Bastard, who do you think you are? You don't deserve this old man to make a move. However, you killed Niu Lang, and your crime is unforgivable. This old man is going to kill you. What a joke. Niu Lang and I volunteered for the life and death battle. We have no regrets. Even if we die, we have no complaints. Now that Niu Lang has been killed, you want to take revenge? If that's the case, who would dare to fight on the life and death stage? Lin Xian sneered. Everyone fell silent after hearing this. Indeed, Niu Lang had volunteered for the life and death battle. Moreover, the reverence moon-worshipping cult's elder had disregarded his status and attacked a junior. Don't try to quibble. Since you dared to kill the reverence moon-worshipping cult's people, you have to pay the price. The reverence moon-worshipping cult's elder's expression was ferocious. Lin Xian sneered. If the reverence moon-worshipping cult continues to send out the younger generation, I will accept it without any hesitation. But if the older generation attacks, it will be a joke to the world. What? Are the younger generation of the reverence moon-worshipping cult all trash? No one dares to attack? Everyone was shocked to hear this. They could tell that Lin Xian was looking for trouble with the reverence moon-worshipping cult. The reverence moon-worshipping cult's elder was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. However, he could not accept Niu Lang's death. Therefore, he decided to disregard his status and kill the kid in front of him. Sigh, the reverence moon-worshipping cult is really shameless. Humph, you think you can bully the younger generation just because you're old? How shameless. What? Is there no one else in the reverence moon-worshipping cult? If there is no one in the younger generation, I don't mind being the saint of the reverence moon-worshipping cult. Fatty Luo, Du Fei, and the Crimson Dragon sneered. Meanwhile, Lin Xian looked down and said coldly, Old man, if you want to fight, sure. Suppress your cultivation to the level of a 2-star king, and we will have a fair fight. What? Suppress his cultivation to the level of a 2-star king? Everyone was stunned after hearing this. Lin Xian sneered. What? You don't dare to accept? You don't even dare to fight someone of the same level, and you dare to be arrogant here? What a piece of trash. Hurry up and get lost. Chapter 1604. Everyone fell silent. Indeed, if one didn't have the guts to fight someone of the same level, then one was truly a coward. The reverence moon elder trembled in anger, and his face darkened. Suppressing his cultivation? A 2-star king realm expert was going to fight him? What a joke. He had seen the other party's cultivation. The other party was a 2-star king realm expert who could kill a 5-star king realm expert. How could he compete with such heaven-defying combat strength? Therefore, he wouldn't suppress his cultivation even if he was beaten to death. What a sharp-tongued brat. Just you wait, this matter won't end like this. My reverence moon cult has countless geniuses, and when the time comes, someone will take your dog life. The reverence moon elder gritted his teeth, and with a wave of his sleeve, he turned around and left. The disciples of the reverence moon cult had a sinister expression on their faces as they glared at Lin Xian before leaving with the reverence moon cult. It's over? It's over just like that? Everyone couldn't believe it. They hadn't expected the reverence moon elder to leave just like that. It seemed like he was afraid of the other party and didn't dare to fight someone of the same level. At this moment, everyone looked at Lin Xian with a solemn expression, and there was even a trace of fear. It was obvious that the other party was a genius, and they had no way of defeating him. On the other hand, the Crimson Dragon, Fatty Luo, and Du Fei smiled and said, Today is a good day, and it's worth celebrating. Brother Lin, let's drink until we're drunk. Okay. Lin Xian laughed loudly, and the few of them left quickly. In the crowd, the mysterious duo's eyes flickered. Among them, the tall, middle-aged man smiled and said, "Not bad. I didn't expect this brat's strength to exceed my expectations." The handsome young man beside him nodded and said, "It's indeed surprising that he could kill the Holy Prince candidate Cowherd. I'm really looking forward to his growth. At that time, I'll kill him with a single slash." The tall, middle-aged man sneered, and a terrifying light flashed in his eyes. Soon after, the two of them disappeared again, and no one noticed. In the restaurant, Lin Xian, the Crimson Dragon, Fatty Luo, and Du Fei returned once again. "Haha, awesome. This is awesome. Just imagining the Reverence Moon Elder's face makes me want to laugh." Fatty Luo laughed loudly. Du Fei was also shocked. "Brother Lin, amazing. I didn't expect you to be so strong. I dare to bet that even if he were to face a true saint, he wouldn't be too far off. Come, let's not leave until we're drunk." Several people laughed loudly and drank the spiritual wine together. They only left when night fell. Fatty Luo and Du Fei rented a mansion in Hanyang Ancient City. Lin Xian didn't have a place to stay, so he went with them. Late at night, the starry sky twinkled quietly. Lin Xian returned to his room, but he didn't sleep. Instead, he refined the spirit wine, after which his eyes flickered with a profound light. Today's battle seemed easy, but it also gave him a lot of inspiration. After all, Cowherd was a candidate for Holy Sun. His strength was extremely powerful among the younger generation. Although Lin Xian did not use many moves, each of his moves was done with 120% of his concentration, using all of his strength. At this moment, he recalled the battle during the day once again to gain experience. At the same time, he held a piece of supreme-grade substandard divine crystal in his hand and quickly absorbed the energy inside. Although he had killed Niu Lang, he didn't let his guard down. Niu Lang was only one of the candidates. Above him were the holy sons and the geniuses of other sects. Therefore, Lin Xian had to cultivate with all his strength to maintain his valiant battle strength and not fall behind the others. One had to know that the geniuses of the true spirit world were born with countless natural treasures, especially the geniuses of the Sure family and the holy lands of the primordial era. They were the favorites of heaven and earth. However, he had just arrived here. Therefore, he had to cultivate even harder to catch up to the others. He spent the entire night cultivating. The next day, Lin Xian opened his eyes as the sun rose in the east. The supreme-grade substandard divine crystal in his hand had already dimmed. There wasn't much energy left in it. However, Lin Xian's strength had increased again. Not long after, Fatty Luo and Du Fei walked over with smiles on their faces. They dragged Lin Xian to the street for breakfast. The group went out again. After breakfast, they strolled around freezing Sun Valley City. The situation this time was obviously different. Not long after Lin Xian walked on the street, many people cupped their fists at him. "Morning, Brother Lin." "Morning." Lin Xian replied with a smile. He knew that this was the effect of yesterday's battle. Now, no one dared to look down on him. However, Fatty Luo and Du Fei exclaimed lightly. Then, their eyes lit up as they looked ahead, as if they had found something good. "Brother Lin, come and take a look." The two greeted. Lin Xian was puzzled. He also looked ahead. Then, he was slightly taken aback, because what appeared in front of him wasn't a treasure, but a woman. The woman was wearing a long blue dress. She had bright eyes and white teeth. She was incomparably beautiful and had an otherworldly aura. She was like a fairy from the Moon Palace. She was extremely beautiful. "What a beautiful woman!" the surrounding people exclaimed. Indeed, even Lin Xian nodded. Whether it was her appearance, figure, or temperament, there was nothing wrong with her. "Who is she?" Lin Xian asked. "The saintess of the Moon Palace, the Moon Fairy." "Why are you interested?" Fatty Luo said with a smile. Du Fei also joked. "I dare to bet that Brother Lin must be tempted." The two laughed. "We've always had a wish since we were young. That is to snatch the saintess of a large sect and make her our wife. I wonder if we have the chance this time?" Their voices weren't loud, but they weren't soft either. Therefore, the surrounding martial artists all heard them. Immediately, their eyes widened. They couldn't believe their ears. Snatch the saintess as a wife? What a joke. Perhaps even those from the supreme sacred grounds and the clan of the ancients wouldn't dare to say that. The corner of Lin Xian's mouth twitched. He knew that Fatty Luo and Du Fei were arrogant and daring, but he didn't expect them to have such a shocking idea. Even Fairy Guanghan, who was in the front, frowned. The Moon Palace disciples beside her looked even more gloomy. They glared at Lin Xian. Obviously, they were very unhappy with Fatty Luo and the others' words. Fatty Luo and Du Fei chuckled. They weren't afraid of the Moon Palace disciples' gazes at all. They even quickly sized up the Moon Fairy. How dare you blaspheme the saintess of our sect? You're courting death. The Moon Palace disciples couldn't stand it anymore. They strode forward, and a terrifying aura enveloped Fatty Luo and Du Fei. Even Lin Xian and the mystical dragon and Hong were enveloped by it. As for Fatty Luo and Du Fei, they were still grinning. How dare we? How dare we? The saintess is beautiful. Of course she's there for others to see. We didn't say anything. Fatty Luo laughed even more viciously. That's right. Hit me if you can. Chapter 1605. You. The vast cold palace disciple was so angry that he vomited blood. This was a public area, so he naturally did not dare to attack. Lin Xian shook his head helplessly. He did not expect these two clowns to be so bold. The surrounding people's mouths twitched and their scalps went numb. They stared at Fatty Luo and Du Fei and whispered, "Who were these two people? How dare they be so disrespectful to the saintess of the vast cold palace?" However, judging from how arrogant the two of them were, they should be disciples of some powerful sect, right? Wasn't the person beside him Lin Xian? If he could be with such a genius, he must be of a high status. The crowd discussed fervently. In front of them, the vast cold palace's saintess frowned and turned to leave. "Hey, fairy, don't go. Wait for me." Fatty Luo walked up to her and said with a smile, "Fairy, I've missed you since we parted last time. Why don't we have a drink and chat?" "Haha, I bet that you have no chance, Fatty Luo. The fairy will not agree to your request, because she will accept my invitation." Du Fei also laughed and directly walked up. Everyone was stunned. They did not expect these two people to block the vast cold palace's saintess. They were too bold. Even Lin Xian was surprised. The vast cold palace was a more powerful sect than Bai Yueshao. The vast cold palace's saintess was even more honorable. Some elders would have to bow to her when they saw her. But now, Fatty Luo and Du Fei didn't care at all and directly blocked his path. Lin Xian was very surprised to see the two's fearless appearance. Could it be that these two people had some shocking background? To be honest, Lin Xian was not very clear about the origins of these two people. However, they were all like-minded, so they were together. However, if he were to dig deeper, Lin Xian did not know which sect they were from. The vast cold palace's disciples were furious when they saw that someone was blocking their way. Some even drew their swords and sabers, ready to attack. Fatty Luo and Du Fei were still grinning, not showing any fear. The saintess of Guanghan waved her hand and dismissed the warriors around her. Then she said coldly, "You two, please step aside. I really don't have time for drinks. If you want to spar, I don't mind meeting the two of you in the lawless zone. When the time comes, I'm afraid that your elders won't say anything if I make you suffer. Sai, forget about fighting and killing. Since you're not free, I won't force you." Fatty Luo shrugged and moved aside with Du Fei. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes widened. This was too shocking. The two people in front of them were on the same level as the saintess of Guanghan. They were even flirting with her. What was even more shocking was that the saintess of Guanghan did not get angry. She only threatened him. This was too illogical. Unless these two people had some shocking background, so that even the saintess of Guanghan did not dare to kill them. Heavens, who are these two people? What's their background? For a moment, everyone was discussing. Lin Xian also walked forward and said with a smile, "It seems that the two of you are not simple people." "It's nothing." Fatty Luo shook his head. "We're just a group of disciples from aristocratic families. We like to eat, drink, and play. We don't have any big ambitions. Brother Lin, you won't alienate us because of our background, right? Du Fei asked on the other side. Why would I? You're my friends. Even if you're from the demon path, it doesn't matter. Lin Xian shrugged. Haha, good. Just based on this sentence, you should drink a big cup. Fatty Luo laughed loudly. However, at this moment, a cold aura suddenly came from behind. It stared at them like a poisonous snake. Especially Lin Xian, the hair on his back stood up. He snorted coldly. The great dragon sword soul in his body circulated, and a warm current instantly flowed through his body. The strange feeling disappeared. In the next moment, he turned around and stared at the back with a lightning-like gaze. He had just killed the candidate of the moon-worshipping cult. It could be said that he was in the limelight. Ordinary people would not dare to provoke him. But now, someone was releasing killing intent toward him. It seemed that this person was very arrogant. On the side, Fatty Luo also turned around and shouted coldly, "Who dares release killing intent toward me? Do you want to die?" Everyone was also shocked and did not understand the situation. However, in the next moment, they cried out in surprise. This was because several figures were walking toward them on the street behind them. The crowd dispersed like the tide. Moon-worshipping cult. It's the moon-worshipping cult. They're here again. Everyone exclaimed. They did not expect the moon-worshipping cult to make a comeback so soon. Sure enough, a few figures walked over from behind. One of them had a tall figure, and his gaze was as sharp as a blade. It was extremely fierce. A piece of moonlight was embroidered on his sleeve. There was even a hazy full moon behind him. This person was also followed by several disciples of the moon-worshipping cult. At this moment, they were looking at Lin Xian with a sneer. You are Lin Xian? The tall youth's eyes were like lightning as he stared ahead and asked in a cold voice. Yes, I am. Lin Xian nodded coldly, then asked, Who are you? Tell me your name. I don't kill nameless people. Haha, you're as arrogant as the rumors say. But boy, you dare to kill the people of the moon-worshipping cult. I'll take your dog life. Someone said the same thing before. But now he's a dead man. I advise you not to boast. Are the people of the moon-worshipping cult only good at talking? Lin Xian sneered and shook his head. You're courting death. The disciples of the moon-worshipping cult shouted angrily, their expressions abnormally ferocious. However, Lin Xian shrugged indifferently. This was a public area. No matter how arrogant the other party was, they wouldn't dare to make a move here. The tall young man snorted, Boy, you're too arrogant. Don't think you can be arrogant just because you killed a cowherd. I don't care about that kind of trash. That's right. This is our senior brother, Tian Hu. He's a 5-star king. Boy, you're dead this time. What? Tian Hu? It's him. 5-star king. As expected, the moon-worshipping cult is really angry this time. They actually sent such a powerful expert. Tian Hu was also one of the candidates, but his strength was much stronger than Niu Lang's. Niu Lang was only a 4-star king, but Tian Hu was a 5-star king. His strength was incomparably terrifying. He was even said to be the most likely candidate to become the next saint. 5-star king? Hearing this, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. No wonder the other party was so arrogant. He indeed had the right to be arrogant. 5-star king was already very terrifying among the younger generation. Moreover, as a candidate of the saint's position, the other party should have more cultivation methods and abilities. However, Lin Xian's expression was calm, and he didn't show any fear. In the past 2 days, he had absorbed another piece of supreme-grade substandard divine crystal, which allowed his cultivation base to rise again. His strength had also improved a lot. Even if he faced a 5-star king, he could still handle it. Chapter 1606. Brat, you're too arrogant. How dare you say that my moon-worshipping cult's younger generation is weak? I'll kill you right now. Do you dare to fight to the death? Another fight to the death? Everyone was shocked. It seemed like the moon-worshipping cult was truly enraged this time. They wouldn't stop until they killed Lin Xian. At this moment, everyone wanted to know Lin Xian's answer. In fact, it was normal for Lin Xian to refuse at this time. Because he had just killed the successor Holy Prince Niu Lang, gained fame, and dealt a blow to the moon-worshipping cult. He didn't need to fight anymore. Moreover, his opponent this time, Tianhu, was too powerful. He was a true 5-star king with terrifying strength. If Lin Xian were to duel with him, it was very likely that Lin Xian would be defeated or even killed. Therefore, everyone guessed that Lin Xian wouldn't agree. However, Lin Xian sneered. "Since you're in a hurry to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Not only you, from now on, as long as you're from the moon-worshipping cult's younger generation, I'll kill you," Lin Xian said coldly. His voice was filled with boundless killing intent, causing everyone's scalp to go numb. Many people couldn't believe their ears. Tianhu sneered, "Very good, you've agreed. Just wait to collect your corpse. Enjoy your last moments obediently." After saying that, he sneered and turned around to leave. The moon-worshipping cult's disciples and their friendly sect sneered. Tianhu was dead for sure this time. Even Fatty Luo and Du Fei had a solemn expression. They said, "Brother Lin, be careful. Although this Tianhu is arrogant, he's really strong. That cowherd can't compare to him." "Brat, can you do it? If you can't, then don't fight. When we're strong enough, we'll tear down the moon-worshipping cult." The Crimson Dragon also advised. "It's fine." Lin Xian shook his head slightly. With the Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps, his speed had reached the limit. It could be said that he was invincible. However, for safety's sake, he decided to cut out a few pieces of supreme-grade substandard divine crystals for cultivation. Therefore, he, Fatty Luo, and the others went on the road again and went to a place that sold gambling stones. This time, Lin Xian used his Martial Dao Celestial Eye to cut out another 2 pieces of subgrade divine crystals, which immediately attracted countless exclamations. They had long heard of Lin Xian's soul-seeking technique, but now, they had seen him easily cut out 2 pieces of substandard divine crystals. These people couldn't take it anymore. Their eyes were red with jealousy. However, no one dared to make a move. Because this was a public area, fighting was prohibited. Lin Xian didn't hesitate either. He sat down cross-legged in the public area with the 2 best quality subdivine crystals and began to cultivate. His current strength was already comparable to a 5-star king. However, if he could take another step forward, killing Tianhu wouldn't be difficult. He circulated the immortality incantation and quickly absorbed the energy inside the substandard divine crystal. A faint light illuminated the surroundings. However, someone in the crowd sneered. "Don't you think it's too late to cultivate now?" "That's right. The duel is about to start. Even if he absorbs now, how much can he improve?" What an idiot. It was a pity that 2 pieces of supreme-grade substandard divine crystals were going to be used on a person who was about to die. Many people sneered, thinking that Lin Xian was going to lose and that it was useless to do anything now. However, some people shook their heads because Lin Xian could still maintain a calm state of mind and cultivate silently. This kind of temperament was rare and could achieve great things. However, Lin Xian didn't care about these people. He separated a part of his soul power to observe the surroundings. The rest of his energy was used to absorb the energy with all his might. Time passed slowly. Finally, the 2 pieces of substandard divine crystals in Lin Xian's hand dimmed. As for his cultivation, it was also rapidly increasing. It had become much stronger than before. Now, he had reached the middle 2-star king realm. The great dragon sword soul in his body was filled with power like a real divine beast. "It's done." Feeling the power in his body, the corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up slightly. If he was 80% sure that he could defeat Lin Xian before, then he was 100% sure that he could kill Lin Xian now. "Let's go to the lawless zone," Lin Xian said indifferently. "Haha, there's a good show to watch again." Fatty Luo was excited. Du Fei was even more direct. "Let's bet. Let's bet." A shocking battle, a rare showdown. Bet on who you think will win. Come. Place your bets. The surrounding martial artists had nothing to do, so they placed their bets one after another. Of course, most of them bet on Tianhu. It couldn't be helped because Tianhu was too famous and powerful. He was a true 5-star king realm expert. Although Lin Xian was powerful, he was still much weaker than Tianhu. especially when Lin Xian had to rely on divine crystals to improve his cultivation before the battle. This made everyone suspicious. In fact, the odds had even risen to 1-5. However, Fatty Luo placed his bet on Lin Xian and added a portion of the dark red dragon as well. Soon, the lawless zone became lively again. The commotion this time was even more shocking than before. Lin Xian had already made a name for himself. Now, the entire ancient Hanyang city knew about this new genius. Tian, whose name had always been very famous. Therefore, this could be seen as a showdown between the new and old geniuses. This competition had even startled the other sky prides. The Guanghan Saintess of the Guanghan Palace and the Five Elements Saint of the Five Elements sect came to watch the battle. Among the crowd, the people of the Reverence Moon cult occupied the best spot. This time, they gritted their teeth and swore that they would see Lin Xian killed with their own eyes. Among them, the Reverence Moon Elder's expression was gloomy and cold. His gaze was piercingly cold. He wanted to see how arrogant Lin Xian could be today. Everyone was paying close attention and looking forward to it. This was because this battle would definitely be very exciting. They had already seen Lin Xian's methods yesterday. Although he was only a 2-star king, the strength he displayed was enough to contend with a 5-star king. As for Tian Hu, he was a true 5-star king. His strength was even more terrifying. No one knew how strong he was. However, they knew that a few months ago, Tian Hu had killed 3 5-star kings of the older generation. This achievement could be said to be very shocking. Pung pung pung. Tian Hu's figure was tall, and his aura was violent. He was like a giant walking in the void. There was even a muffled sound of thunder under his feet. Thunderclap steps. This is the Earth-grade martial art, Thunderclap steps. This Tian Hu was indeed powerful. He used an Earth-grade martial art right off the bat. It seemed like he was determined to kill his opponent. Sure enough, with the Thunderclap steps, Tian Hu strode into the life and death arena. He then looked around and shouted coldly, "Brat, get over here and die." With a furious roar, lightning fell from the sky and pierced through the void. That terrifying strength made everyone's scalp go numb. Chapter 1607. Brat, get over here and die. With a furious roar, lightning fell from the sky and pierced through the void. That terrifying force made everyone's scalp go numb. So strong. This Tian Hu is probably one of the strongest 5-star kings. Yeah, that brat is going to be unlucky. It's too much for him to fight Tian Hu now. If he's given another 10 years, he might be able to surpass Tian Hu. Indeed, Lin Xian's brat is too young. He's only a 2-star king. If he's a 5-star king, Tian Hu won't be a match for him. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. In their opinion, Lin Xian was too arrogant. Fighting a 5-star king with his current cultivation was like hitting a rock with an egg. On the other side, Lin Xian, Fatty Luo, Du Fei, and the others had not arrived yet, but they heard the thunderous voice and terrifying aura. Fatty Luo and Du Fei's expressions changed again. They said in a low voice, "Brother Lin, be careful. Don't worry about it." Lin Xian patted both of their shoulders and strode over. As he took a step forward, a mysterious Tao pattern appeared under his feet. It looked like a swimming dragon. In the next moment, he appeared in the arena. What a fast movement technique. Lin Xian's movement technique shocked many people. This movement technique should also be an Earth-grade martial art. And it doesn't look any weaker than the Thunder Shock steps. No wonder you could kill Niulang. It turns out that you have such a movement technique. In the arena, Tian Hu was also surprised. But soon, he sneered, "Unfortunately, you have no chance of winning against me. Because my Thunder Shock steps is a high-grade martial art." Tian Hu was very confident because a high-grade Earth-grade martial art was very mysterious. Even he had not fully grasped it yet. However, he believed that with his Thunder Shock steps, he could easily kill his opponent. A high-grade Earth-grade martial art? I see. Lin Xian nodded. His expression was calm, but he snorted disdainfully in his heart. Heavenly Dragon's 8 Steps was a primordial immortal scripture martial art. It could be said to be a rare treasure. How could a mere high-grade Earth-rank martial art compare to his Heavenly Dragon's 8 Steps? Therefore, in the next moment, he said indifferently, A high-grade Earth-tier martial art is indeed not bad. I just don't know how far you can go. Make your move. Let me see if your movement technique is as arrogant as yours. Lin Xin casually waved his hand. You're courting death. When Tianhu saw this, he was furious. He was a 5-star King Realm expert, and he was extremely powerful. The other party actually dared to look down on him? Unforgivable. Therefore, in the next moment, he coldly snorted and took a step forward. The sound of thunder came from his body. Immediately, the entire void trembled as countless bolts of lightning fell from the sky. Just the sound of the thunder was enough to pierce through the void. However, Lin Xin stood with his hands clasped behind his back. The space around him was unusually stable, and there were no ripples at all. What a terrifying power! It can actually affect this space. When the surrounding people saw Lin Xin's move, they were all shocked. Tianhu roared. As his palms opened and closed, a ferocious tiger formed by lightning quickly pounced out. A roar shook the mountains and rivers. The ferocious tiger was extremely powerful, and it quickly charged towards Lin Xin. In an instant, the entire sky was completely covered by a sea of lightning. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As for Lin Xin, his body swayed, leaving countless afterimages in the air. They were densely packed and filled the sky. It was impossible to tell which was real and which was fake. Omnidirectional thunderstorm. Destroy them all. Tianhu waved his hand, and suddenly, the violent power of lightning exploded, enveloping Lin Xin's afterimages. Ha 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 ha. So what if you're fast? In the face of absolute power, nothing can withstand a single blow. He looked forward, his eyes flashing, and a sinister smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Is that so? But I'll have to disappoint you. At this moment, a faint voice came from behind him. Hearing this voice, Tianhu's pupils shrank, and a trace of fear appeared on his face. Damn it! How is this possible? He was horrified. He did not expect that the other party had dodged all his attacks and secretly appeared behind him. However, he was also a decisive person. With a wave of his hand, a lightning sword formed in his palm, and it quickly pierced behind him. Die, brat! The lightning sword flashed, piercing through the void at an extremely fast speed. Before the surrounding people could react, the lightning sword blasted Lin Xin's body and pierced through it. What? He hit him. Seeing this, the crowd was in an uproar, unable to believe it. They did not expect the battle to end so quickly. Heh, I knew it. That kid is dead meat. In a battle between experts, the outcome was often decided in one move. Now it seemed that this was true. What an idiot. He dared to fight with senior brother Tianhe. His brain must have been flooded with water. He's finished. The disciples of the moon-worshipping cult sneered. Tianhu's lips curled into a sinister smile, and a low voice came from his mouth. Hee, kid, it's all over. Boom. However, at this moment, a shining fist suddenly appeared in the void and slammed into Tianhu's face, sending him flying. Boom. The void exploded, and the entire sky trembled. The surrounding people were dumbfounded. What's going on? What's going on? Who attacked him? Wasn't that kid killed? Why is there still someone attacking Tianhu? At this moment, everyone's mind went blank. Damn it! Who is it? Tianhu was also mad. He spat out his broken teeth and roared crazily. Of course it's me. You're really an idiot. Do you really think you can keep up with my speed? Lin Xin slowly walked out of the void. His body floated like a banished immortal. His entire body exuded a supreme aura, and he did not look injured at all. What? This is impossible. I clearly stabbed you. Seeing that his opponent was unharmed, Tianhu's eyes widened in disbelief. The next moment, he screamed, Damn it, that was also an afterimage? What? The surrounding people exclaimed. They could not believe that what Tianhu stabbed was actually an afterimage. How fast was Lin Xin's speed? How could he hide from everyone? Damn it, I don't believe it. I don't believe that you can beat my thunder shock steps. Tianhu roared crazily. His footwork was incomparably terrifying. With his huge body, He was like a gust of wind as he charged forward quickly. Thunder shock steps, thunder shock step. This was an advanced Earth-class movement technique, and its speed was terrifying to the extreme. Almost no one in the same class could match it. However, he was unlucky to meet Lin Xian. Swoosh, swoosh. The two of them moved quickly in the air. Lin Xian used Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps, and within 8 steps, he was extremely fast. Therefore, no matter how fast the Thunder Shock Steps was, it could not catch up with Lin Xian. Instead, there were many footprints on Tianhu's body. Chapter 1608. At this moment, his hair was disheveled, and he looked extremely pathetic. He no longer had the arrogance and haughtiness from before. Tianhu, what are you doing? Don't compete with him in terms of speed. Just kill him. At this moment, Elder Baiyue, who was below, shouted coldly. After Tianhu heard this, he stopped and his eyes regained their clarity. He was no longer in a frenzy. Instead, he revealed a ferocious expression. I admit that you're faster than me, but so what? Today is a battle of life and death. It's not just a competition of speed. I'll let you know that other than speed, you have nothing else. He roared and lightning flashed all over his body. Countless bolts of lightning surged and covered the entire arena like a thundercloud. Kid, I've already sealed the arena with divine lightning. Let's see how you're going to escape. Tianhu revealed a ferocious expression again. Everyone's expression changed, and they started to worry for Lin Xian. Oh no, he's sealed in the arena. Lin Xian won't be able to escape. Yeah, he's confined in a certain space. Even if he has the ultimate movement technique, it won't be of much use. However, Lin Xian sneered. Why should I escape? Do you think you can defeat me? Humph. Tianhu roared. Kid, I think you won't shed a tear until you see the coffin. Fine. I'll kill you now and let you know the consequences of offending me. There was a rumbling sound. Tianhu waved his fist and endless lightning surrounded him. The terrifying power caused the entire space to tremble. This is my lightning tiger territory. Let's see how you're going to escape this time. Tianhu laughed heartily at the sky. With a wave of his hand, countless majestic figures surged out and charged at Lin Xian. I don't need to dodge to deal with you. Lin Xian looked calm. He clenched his fist and pulled out the 9 darkness demonic sword from the empty palace. He slashed forward. Like a volcanic eruption, the sword chi in the sky slashed down quickly and instantly shattered all the lightning tigers. The terrifying sword chi caused the entire space to tremble. What? So powerful. Seeing this sword chi, everyone's eyes widened in disbelief. They thought that since Lin Xian was sealed in the space, he had no advantage in speed and couldn't move at all. Only death awaited him. But now, it seemed that they were all wrong. The reason for that was because not only was his speed extremely fast, but his battle prowess was also incomparably terrifying. With a single sword strike, he was able to cut through countless bolts of lightning. Such a technique was unheard of. Tianhu's expression also changed. He did not expect the other party's combat strength to be so strong. This was completely out of his expectations. However, he gritted his teeth and swung his fist again, because he had no other choice. Only by killing the person before him could he win. Punch after punch, the shocking power was like a wave, destroying everything. The entire space fell into nothingness, and the lightning in the sky quickly fell, one after another, bombarding all directions. Underworld Dao waning moonbreak. Lin Xian waved the 9 Hell Devil sword, directly cutting open a spatial crack. It was as if he had opened the gates of hell, causing the endless energy storm to be completely devoured. As for him, he was not harmed at all. Everyone was stunned. They did not expect that in addition to having extreme speed, Lin Xian also had such a strange and terrifying technique. What is that? Why did all the energy suddenly disappear? It's a space technique. It's a space technique. He can actually make use of space. Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. They had never seen such a technique before. Tianhu's face was even more dazed. He did not expect that his violent energy could not hurt the other party. This made him unable to believe it. However, opposite him, Lin Xian said coldly. You've finished your attack. Now it's my turn. Azure Dragon Break. With a thrust of his sword, a sword light appeared in the void, like an azure dragon, quickly rushing forward. Boom! The lightning tiger shadows that filled the sky were shattered into pieces at this moment, no longer existing. Tianhu was also sent flying by this move. Fortunately, at the critical moment, he summoned an ancient shield, which blocked most of the attack. Otherwise, this attack would definitely have pierced through him. However, he was not in a good state now. That terrifying sword chi directly penetrated his body, causing him to suffer extremely serious injuries. Even his spiritual power could not circulate smoothly. Not bad, as expected of a 5-star king. You can actually block my sword. Indeed, you have some skills. Lin Xian nodded slightly. Indeed, an ordinary 4-star king would not be able to block his move at all. However, the other party blocked it. Although he was injured, it was not fatal. Hearing this, Tianhu's face turned gloomy. It was very unpleasant. Who was he? He was a 5-star king, a successor candidate. He was so powerful that even the older generation could not suppress him. But now, a 2-star king dared to look down on him? This was intolerable. Damn it, go to hell. With a furious roar, Tianhu's black hair fluttered. His body was tall and carried a murderous aura. He was really mad. He had to kill the other party to vent his anger. The next moment, he waved his palms, and a full moon appeared in his palms, emitting a red glow. In his right palm, a lightning tiger circled. Both palms struck out together, shaking heaven and earth. The momentum was extremely vast. The red full moon floated in the sky, carrying monstrous flames that spread in all directions. The lightning tiger phantom was even more terrifying. As soon as it appeared in the sky, divine lightning descended from all directions. It was like a heavenly tribulation. This terrifying scene shocked everyone, and they quickly retreated. Lin Xian held the demonic sword in his hand, his eyes emitting a cold light. In the next moment, endless sword light bloomed from his body. The demonic sword in his hand slashed down. The sword light was as thick as a mountain, terrifying to the extreme. The full moon in the sky and the terrifying lightning tiger were split apart by the sword. What? Impossible! Tianhu was shocked and in disbelief. This was already his full-strength attack. Why couldn't he resist the other party? Could it be that the other party was really so powerful? Surpassed him? This made him in disbelief. In the next moment, his expression changed drastically, because he discovered that the other party was quickly charging towards him. In an instant, he had already arrived in front of him. Get lost! Tianhu roared angrily and threw a punch that carried shocking thunder and lightning. However, he collided with a green sword shadow. A green domain appeared around the other party, shining with a cold light, making his hair stand on end. This domain was naturally Lin Xian's dragon sword domain. He stood in the domain like a sword god, and the demonic sword in his hand was shining with a cold light. In the next moment, he held the demonic sword in his hand and directly stabbed forward. Let's end this. Puff. The 9 underworld demonic sword pierced into the other party's body, directly breaking open a black hole. Tianhu struggled frantically, wanting to resist, but there was nothing he could do. In the end, his entire body was pierced by the sword chi, and countless sword marks appeared. All of his meridians were destroyed, and his entire body stopped breathing as he fell to the ground. Chapter 1609. Boom. A loud explosion shook the stage. Everyone was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe that the terrifying Tianhu, a 5-star king, had been killed, especially the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult. Their bodies began to tremble as if they had seen a ghost. Impossible. Damn it. How could this brat kill senior brother Tianhu? They were going crazy. Yesterday, he had killed their senior brother Niu. Today, he had killed their senior brother Tian. They couldn't accept it. Those were 2 latecomers after all. They had died in the hands of the same person. It was too shocking. The elder of the moon-worshipping cult looked even more ferocious as killing intent surrounded his body. At this moment, he was finally enraged. Lin Fan had killed another one of their young geniuses. He couldn't explain it to the sect. Brat, go to hell. With a roar, the wind and clouds in the sky changed. The heavenly hand slapped down rapidly as if it wanted to smash Lin Xian into meat paste. Oomph! Lin Xian snorted coldly as he executed the heavenly dragon's 8 steps. With extreme speed, he stepped out of the stage. Rumble. In the next moment, the ancient stage was covered by the heavenly hand. It shook violently, and cracks even appeared in some places. How terrifying! The Elder of the Moon worshipping cult is too strong. However, what shocked everyone was that the Elder had really made his move. He wanted to kill Lin Xian. Seeing that his attack didn't hit, the Elder snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, countless rays of blade light appeared in all directions. Each ray of blade light was like a crescent moon as they emitted a bright red light. Kill. With a roar, the crescent moon blade light slashed towards Lin Xian. In all directions, the entire space was in complete chaos. Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps, 8 steps extreme speed. Lin Xian let out a long roar as he pushed his footwork to the limit. At this moment, his figure was so fast that it was unbelievable. The blade light that filled the sky brushed past his body, but none of them hit him. What? He dodged all of them? No way. Everyone was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. Even the Reverence Moon Elder's face sank. He did not expect his opponent's movement technique to be so strange that he was able to dodge his attack. At the same time, he was extremely shocked. Such a person was too terrifying. If he was allowed to continue growing, he would definitely become a god of war in the future. Such a person must not be allowed to live. Otherwise, he would become a great enemy of moon-worshipping cult. F***CK. Old man, you're too shameless. How dare you attack a junior? Come on, look. The moon-worshipping cult is shameless enough to assassinate a young genius. At this moment, Fatty Luo and Du Fei also roared furiously. Their voices were like thunder, shaking the surroundings. You're courting death. The Elder of the Moon-worshipping cult was furious. At this moment, he no longer cared about anything else and started attacking Fatty Luo and Du Fei. A full moon hung in the sky, like a huge mountain, quickly pressing down. On the other hand, Fatty Luo and Du Fei had cold smiles on their faces. In the next moment, they waved their hands, and an ancient pagoda appeared in the sky. It spun quickly and enveloped them. Pong! The red full moon crashed into the pagoda, causing the entire void to tremble. However, it did not break at all. Old man, how dare you attack me? You're dead meat. I bet that you'll regret it. Fatty Luo and Du Fei sneered, but they did not show any fear. They were very confident in their treasures. The others were also puzzled. They did not expect the pagoda to be able to block the Elder's attack. It was not an ordinary object. Who exactly were these two people? First, they found trouble with the Moon Saintess. Now, they were provoking the Elder. Could it be that they really had a shocking origin? At this moment, everyone was extremely puzzled. The Elder of the Moon-worshipping cult had gone completely crazy. He could not kill Lin Xian, and now even Fatty Luo and Du Fei could not do anything to him? This was intolerable. In the next moment, he stretched out his hand and directly grabbed the pagoda in the sky, wanting to blast it away. The pagoda was extremely dazzling, blooming with dazzling light as it resisted the terrifying palm. At the same time, Fatty Luo sneered. Old man, you're really dead meat. After saying that, he took out another object from his chest and threw it forward. Not good. Seeing this scene, everyone's face changed drastically and they quickly retreated. They were afraid that the other party would take out another destructive weapon. However, in the next moment, they were stunned, because the other party took out a silver token and threw it on the ground. What is this? Is it another treasure? Everyone was puzzled and looked carefully. However, after waiting for a long time, they did not see any changes. The Elder of the Moon-worshipping cult sneered. Little thing, are you trying to scare me? Really? Before he could finish his words, he looked at the token on the ground in front of him. However, in the next moment, his voice stopped. He screamed as if he had encountered the most terrifying thing in his life. Damn it! Why do you have this thing? The Elder of the Moon worshipping cult quickly withdrew his hand. He should not have attacked at all. What is the relationship between you and the person who has this token? The Elder of the Moon worshipping cult asked in shock. There was even a trace of trembling in his voice. Why don't you guess? Fatty Luo sneered, and Du-Fei snorted. Old man, I can guarantee that you're really dead this time. I didn't know your identity before. I'm sorry. The Elder of the Moon worshipping cult's face darkened as he quickly apologized. Then, his figure flashed, and he quickly left with all the disciples of the moon worshipping cult. What? They left just like that? Everyone was stunned, not knowing what had happened. Lin Xian was also surprised. He did not expect that Fatty Luo would take out a silver token and scare away the Elder of the Moon worshipping cult. What exactly is that silver token? Who are Fatty Luo and the others? He was extremely puzzled. The Crimson Dragon's eyes flickered when it saw the silver token. It had been suppressed in the Tianwu continent for thousands of years and did not understand the changes in the true spirit world. However, it still felt that the silver token was very familiar. You ran fast. Fatty Luo snorted coldly and put away the silver token. Then, he turned to Lin Xian and said with a smile, Brother Lin, you're too strong. You killed another holy prince candidate of the moon-worshipping cult. That's right. I bet they're absolutely mad. The two of them cheered. On the side, the Crimson Dragon also breathed a sigh of relief. As for the surrounding cultivators, they were all dumbfounded. Even now, they still could not believe that Tian who had been killed. Let's go. Lin Xian also breathed a sigh of relief. His figure flickered, and he landed on the ground. Then, the group of people walked out. The crowd automatically moved aside, making a path for them. Many people even trembled when they saw Lin Xian. It was obvious that the means that Lin Xian had displayed earlier had terrified them. However, at this time, two figures appeared in front of them. Chapter 16:10. The crowd automatically moved aside to make a path for him. Many people even trembled slightly when they saw Lin Xian. Obviously, the means that Lin Xian had displayed earlier had terrified them. However, at this moment, two figures appeared in front of him again. One was a handsome young man, and the other was a tall, middle-aged man. Both of them wore black robes and cloaks, hiding their true appearances. They didn't block the way and just brushed past Lin Xian. However, when they walked past Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat. It was a huge shock, as if he had received an earth-shattering threat. What is this? He quickly turned around and looked behind him. However, the two mysterious figures didn't stop at all. Instead, they quickly walked into the crowd and disappeared. Who are those two? Lin Xian was extremely shocked. Even the Reverence Moon Elder wasn't able to shock him. However, the two of them made his hair stand on end just by walking past him. They must be peerless experts. Lin Xian guessed that these two people were at least at the almighty level. Otherwise, he wouldn't have such a reaction. What's wrong? Fatty Luo asked in confusion. They didn't feel that unusual aura. Nothing. Lin Xian shook his head. The other party should be a peerless expert passing by and shouldn't have any interaction with him. Let's go back. I'm a little tired from this battle. Their figures swayed and disappeared from the street. Back in his room, Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. He had consumed a lot of energy in this battle, so he quickly sat down cross-legged to recover his strength. At the same time, the Crimson Dragon sent a voice transmission to him, asking him to prepare some materials to set up a formation. Although the Crimson Dragon was puzzled, he still did as he was told. In the evening, Lin Xian opened his eyes. He had recovered to his peak state. Kid, why did you ask me to prepare these formations? Of course. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. Moon-worshipping cult and I are already mortal enemies. That Elder of the Moon-worshipping cult must be unwilling to accept this. Who knows when he will try to assassinate me? Instead of being on tenterhooks, why don't we take the initiative and kill him? You want to make a move? That's great. That old man. I'm also annoyed just by looking at him. Brat, I'll help you deal with him. Lin Xian nodded, but then reminded, Don't tell Fatty and Du Fei about this. Save them the trouble of worrying. Also, we'll take action after midnight. I understand. I understand. And Hong mystical dragon chuckled. Then, she started studying the array again. On the other hand, Lin Xian closed his eyes again. He took out 2 subdivine crystals and began to cultivate. At night, the ancient city of Hanyang was very lively. People were dancing and singing. In the southwest of the ancient city of Hanyang, there was a huge mansion. This was the residence of the moon-worshipping cult. At this moment, the atmosphere in the mansion was gloomy and even a little cold. Every disciple of the moon-worshipping cult wore a solemn expression. This was because they had lost 2 holy sun candidates in a short span of 2 days. This was unacceptable to them. Elder, why did we give up the best opportunity to kill that brat during the day? That's right, Elder. That brat is too hateful. We can't take this lying down. In the main hall, the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult wore a ferocious expression. The moon-worshipping elder, who was sitting at the front, had a dark expression. What do you know? That silver token has a terrifying origin. Even I don't dare to provoke it. Hearing this, the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult were shocked. They didn't expect the silver token to have such a terrifying origin. Even their elders were extremely fearful of them. But soon, they gritted their teeth and said, "Are we really going to give up and let that brat be arrogant?" Give up? How can we? That brat killed our moon-worshipping cult's genius. We must kill him. However, we can't be reckless. At the very least, we can't make a move in front of the 2 brats who have the silver token. Don't worry, they won't be together forever. As long as that Lin Xian is alone, we'll kill him immediately. Yes, not only him, but also his 2 pets. We have to kill them as well. The female disciple gritted her teeth. Until now, the scar on her face had not healed. Don't worry. The moon-worshipping cult's elder sneered. Since he dares to provoke our moon-worshipping cult, I'll make him suffer a fate worse than death. He'll regret being born in this world. The group of people burst into laughter again. Is that so? You're really vicious. It seems like we really can't let you stay in this world. Suddenly, a cold voice echoed in the main hall. As soon as this voice came out, it immediately shocked everyone. Who is it? Come out. Coming to our moon-worshipping cult's territory and acting so atrociously, I think you don't want to live anymore. Angry roars echoed in the hall. The disciples of the moon-worshipping cult were furious. They didn't expect that someone would dare to act atrociously in their territory. No need to shout. I'm right in front of you. A cold sneer sounded again. Then, a figure appeared in the middle of the hall. What? It's you. Seeing the figure, everyone from the moon-worshipping cult was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe their eyes, because the person who came was none other than Lin Xian. Brat, it's really you. Everyone was shocked. Then, they burst into laughter. There's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. Since you dare to come here to die, I'll let you know the consequences of offending our moon-worshipping cult. The moon-worshipping cult's elder wasn't the only one who sneered. The other disciples of the moon-worshipping cult also burst into laughter. They didn't expect that Huang Xiaolong would dare to come to their territory. However, they didn't let their guard down. They were afraid that Huang Xiaolong would bring some powerful experts with him. Therefore, in the next moment, they quickly spread out their soul force and scanned the area. Other than Lin Xian, there were no other experts. Immediately, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Brat, I have to say, you're too stupid. How dare you come here alone? But this is good too. It saves me the trouble of looking for you everywhere. I'll use your head as a sacrifice to my moon-worshipping cult's geniuses. You talk too much. Lin Xian was getting impatient. I'm here today to deal with all of you. If you have any tricks up your sleeve, just use them. Deal with us? Everyone was stunned. They couldn't believe their ears. Brat, you're too arrogant. Who do you think you are? How dare you say you're going to deal with us? The Reverence Moon Elder sneered disdainfully. He didn't believe Huang Xiaolong. No matter how strong Huang Xiaolong was, he was only at Tian Hu's level. However, as the Reverence Moon Elder, he was stronger than Tian Hu. Other than the Reverence Moon Elder, There were dozens of moon-worshipping cult's disciples. They were all elite experts. How could Huang Xiaolong defeat all of them by himself? Therefore, in the Reverence Moon Elder's opinion, Lin Xian's actions were no different than sending himself to death. Alone? Who said I'm alone? Lin Xian snorted coldly. The corner of his lips curled up into a cold smile. Chapter 1611. What? He's not alone? There's someone else? Who did you bring with you? Everyone's heart skipped a beat when they heard Huang Xiaolong's words. Even the Reverence Moon Elder's face turned solemn. If Huang Xiaolong really brought some expert with him, it would be hard to say what would happen. Of course it's Bin Huang. A loud roar reverberated through the air as the dark god dragon's figure appeared in the hall. What? A four-horned snake? Everyone was stunned for a moment before they burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha. Brat, I think water must have entered your brain. You actually brought a four-legged snake? Do you think you can kill us with just the two of you? What a joke. Pa, you're the snakes, a bunch of ants. You've really angered Bin Huang. Bin Huang will definitely cook you and eat you later. The Crimson Dragon snorted coldly. Lin Xian asked, how is it? Is the formation set up? Don't worry, it's already set up. The entire mansion has been sealed up. Even if a huge battle breaks out here, no one outside will know. That's good. Lin Xian nodded his head. This way, he wouldn't have to worry about anything else. What? It's sealed up? And no one outside will know? That's great. The Reverence Moon cult's disciples roared with laughter. The Reverence Moon Elder's face was twisted with malevolence. Brat, I was worried that you'd attract the attention of the law enforcement team. Who would have thought that you'd actually use a formation to seal up the entire mansion? This will save me a lot of trouble. Since that's the case, you can go to hell. The Reverence Moon Elder was overjoyed. Huang Xiaolong's actions had saved him a lot of trouble. Therefore, he didn't hold back at all. A red palm carrying boundless raging flames quickly reached out and slapped towards Lin Xian. Wherever it passed, the entire void was distorted. Lin Xian's figure flickered as he dodged the most violent attack. He arrived at the side of the hall, and a resplendent sword light burst out from his body. The 9 nether devil swords slashed out, and black sword chi swept across the void. It sliced apart the sea of flames, creating a vacuum. Then, several sword chi streaked through the air and slashed forward. Without the sea of flames blocking their path, the black sword chi arrived before the Reverence Moon Elder in no time. Boom! The Reverence Moon Elder roared in anger. He clenched his other hand into a fist and punched out. It collided with the terrifying sword chi, producing a tearing sound. 2 black holes appeared in the void, and terrifying energy swept out in all directions. The entire hall was torn apart in an instant. The surrounding moon-worshipping cult's disciples retreated frantically. Their faces were filled with fear. The shockwaves of this energy had already exceeded the limits of what they could bear. They didn't dare to approach at all. However, these people were not idle either. One by one, they drew their swords and sabers and used their ultimate techniques to attack Hong's divine dragon. In their opinion, they might not be able to defeat Lin Xian, but how could they not be able to defeat a four-legged snake? At this moment, the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult vented all their anger on the Crimson Dragon. However, they soon realized that they were wrong. Furthermore, he was ridiculously wrong. The Crimson Dragon's strength was not something they could imagine. This was a mystical dragon, an absolutely terrifying existence. Soon, the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult screamed in pain. Some of them were even smashed into a bloody mist. For a moment, everyone fled in a frenzy, wanting to leave this place. However, the entire mansion had already been sealed by the Crimson Dragon. They couldn't escape at all. No. Damn it. Why can't it be broken? The disciples of the moon-worshipping cult roared in a frenzy. Fear filled their hearts. Only now did they realize how laughable they were. When they heard that Lin Xian and the others had sealed the mansion, they were filled with disdain. They thought that the other party had spun a cocoon around themselves. They were courting death. But now, it seemed like they were gravely mistaken. This seal was originally prepared for them. Now, none of them could escape. Could it be that this was all part of the other party's plan? Thinking of this, the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult fell into despair. On the other side, the Reverence Moon Elder and Lin Xian exchanged several blows. It was hard to determine the victor. However, in the next moment, when he saw his disciples being killed and fleeing, his face turned hideous. He didn't expect a four-legged snake to be so powerful. He even killed many of his disciples. This was intolerable. I'm going to kill you." The Reverence Moon Elder roared crazily. A fiery red light erupted from his body, stirring up the surrounding clouds. He was like a god of fire as he charged forward, wanting to kill the Crimson Dragon. "Humph, your opponent is me." However, Lin Xian swung his sword. Terrifying black sword chi roared in the air like a long river of the netherworld, blocking the Reverence Moon Elder's path. Lin Xian's sword chi was extremely sharp. Even the Reverence Moon Elder didn't dare to take it head-on. Therefore, he could only use his martial arts to resist. "Damn it! Get lost!" A red fist flew out, bringing with it fiery red chi waves. It was as if a full moon was descending from the sky. Not only that, but the sound of thunder could be heard. However, the black sword chi was like a black dragon roaring. It circled around and collided with the fiery red fist, causing an earth-shattering explosion. At this time, a few more disciples were turned into blood mist. The Reverence Moon Elder had really gone crazy. He didn't expect things to turn out this way. Originally, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were like ants in his eyes. However, the strength displayed by the two of them shocked him to the core. He didn't dare to believe it. He couldn't wait any longer. He had to go all out. Otherwise, not many of his disciples would be able to survive. With a roar, the Reverence Moon Elder unleashed his powerful strength. In an instant, a sea of fire surged around him, and a full moon floated in the air. A full moon rising from a sea of fire. This was the Reverence Moon Elder's domain. "Brat, you've really angered me. Today, I'll let you know the meaning of regret." The Reverence Moon Elder unleashed his king's domain, and his voice was unusually cold. At this moment, he displayed boundless confidence. It was as if he could destroy everything with a raise of his hand. "Although you're strong, you're only a mid-stage 5-star king." Lin Xian's gaze was resolute, and he wasn't afraid at all. Indeed, he could still deal with a mid-stage 5-star king. "You're too arrogant. I'll let you know my true strength." The Reverence Moon Elder was extremely confident. With a wave of his hand, a boundless sea of fire surged out. It carried with it thousands of rays of moonlight as it descended rapidly. Boom! The void exploded, and powerful energy surged in all directions, causing the entire space to tremble. Lin Xian also let out a long roar, and the dragon sword's spiritual domain was formed. Sword chi filled the sky, and a huge sword-shaped domain appeared in the void. After that, Lin Xian waved his hand, and countless rays of sword chi intersected, forming numerous green dragons that roared in all directions. In the next moment, the two kings' domains collided, and it was as if 100,000 mountains were shaking in the sky. Chapter 16:12. Lin Xian waved his hand, and countless streaks of sword chi intersected, forming numerous azure dragons that roared in all directions. In the next moment, the two king domains collided, and it was as if 100,000 mountains were shaking in the sky. Terrifying energy surged, and the entire void collapsed. The surrounding disciples of the Reverence Moon cult were sent flying by the shockwaves. Fortunately, the entire mansion was sealed by the Crimson Dragon, and no one outside could see what was going on. Otherwise, their jaws would have dropped to the ground. Pung pung pung. The two king domains collided continuously, and every strike was terrifying to the extreme. "This is impossible. Damn it. How can your king domain be so strong?" The Reverence Moon Elder went crazy, and he couldn't believe it. He was a 5-star king, and his king domain was extremely terrifying. His opponent was just a 2-star king, and under normal circumstances, his king domain could easily break through his opponent's domain. But now, he couldn't do it. His opponent's domain was too powerful, and it made his king domain tremble. I don't believe it. The Reverence Moon Elder roared madly, and his body emitted a dazzling light. At the same time, a biting cold killing intent shook the surroundings. At this moment, he pushed his combat strength to the limit, and he swore that he would eliminate the person in front of him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to sleep in the future. You don't believe it? Humph. Then I'll beat you until you believe it. With a low growl, Lin Xian's right leg swept out. In an instant, the dragon sword domain shook, and endless sword chi surrounded him. At this moment, Lin Xian's right leg was like an azure dragon, crossing the void and sweeping forward with terrifying strength. The Reverence Moon Elder waved his hand, and the moonlight in the sky condensed into a long red blade that emitted a terrifying killing intent. In the next moment, he ruthlessly slashed forward. Boom boom. A shocking collision sound rang out, and the long blade slashed on the azure dragon's leg. However, he couldn't slash it down. Lin Xian's right leg was like a true dragon, and it was extremely powerful. Break for me! Lin Xian roared, and his right leg swung out again. Boom! An earth-shattering sound rang out as the kick shattered the red long saber. Not only that, but the Reverence Moon Elder also suffered a series of attacks, and he was sent flying in the air. Impossible! The disciples of the moon-worshipping cult shook their heads frantically when they saw this scene. They didn't expect that their own elder would actually be forced back. They couldn't believe it. The Reverence Moon Elder's face was extremely ugly. He couldn't believe that his opponent's strength had surpassed his own. Kid, I have to admit that you are a peerless genius. But since you dared to provoke my moon-worshipping cult, I can't let you live. Reverence Moon Elder's voice was filled with malevolence. Then, he took out a red pill and quickly swallowed it. I will kill you no matter the cost. He was like a mad beast, roaring furiously. In the next moment, his body rumbled like a real dragon. His blood and chi burned, and his strength rose again. Die! The Reverence Moon Elder roared, and his palm was like a red full moon as it slammed onto Lin Xian's body. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He didn't expect the Reverence Moon Elder to have such a move. At the critical moment, he executed the Mirror of Tranquility. Boundless sword chi revolved in front of him, forming a mirror to defend himself. However, this punch was truly too berserk. It directly blasted the mirror apart. Pung! Lin Xian was hit by the attack, and he quickly retreated. The energy in his body churned. This punch had injured him, and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Ha 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 ha. Kid, now you know how powerful I am. Today, you will die. The Reverence Moon Elder laughed maniacally when he saw that Huang Xiaolong was injured. Kid, are you all right? The Crimson Dragon exclaimed from afar. I'm fine, Lin Xian replied. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and quickly circulated the art of immortality, suppressing the restless energy and spiritual energy in his body. As expected of an elder, you are really strong. Your strength is much stronger than Tianhu's. You actually managed to injure me. Lin Xian was surprised. He had to admit that the Reverence Moon Elder was a powerful opponent. Very good. It's been a long time since I met a worthy opponent. I hope you won't disappoint me. Lin Xian's eyes shone brightly, and he was extremely excited. Damn it! How did this happen? On the other side, the Reverence Moon Elder's face turned gloomy. This was completely different from what he had expected. He had injured Lin Xian with a single punch. Shouldn't Lin Xian be screaming in fear and disappointment? However, from the looks of it, Lin Xian seemed to be very excited. What was going on? How could the Reverence Moon Elder know that his punch had completely ignited Lin Xian's battle intent? At this moment, Lin Xian's blood was boiling. He was like a battle maniac, and he was extremely excited. Let me see how strong you are. Lin Xian executed the Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps and charged forward with the Dragon Sword domain. When the Reverence Moon Elder saw Lin Xian, he roared, "You're courting death." He couldn't accept the fact that Lin Xian had taken the initiative to attack him. Not to mention, he had already consumed a pill, and his strength had increased. He could take advantage of this opportunity to kill Lin Xian. With a roar, the Reverence Moon Elder executed his ultimate technique and fought with Lin Xian. His palms trembled slightly, and red divine flames surged forward. It was as if he was going to burn everything to ashes. In the sky, the endless clouds were instantly shattered and disappeared without a trace. This kind of technique was extremely shocking. With a raise of his hand, Lin Xian could destroy heaven and earth and change the clouds in the void. Good timing, Lin Xian roared, and his eyes shone brightly. The 9 nether devil sword tore through heaven and earth, and it swept forward with destructive energy waves. At the same time, he flicked his finger. The void-shattering finger flickered, and it went straight for the Reverence Moon Elder's head. The dragon sword domain around him shone even brighter, and it made him look like a demon god. It was incomparably terrifying. Boom! Sword chi slashed down, and the terrifying flames in the sky were sliced apart. At the same time, the void-shattering finger moved unpredictably towards the Reverence Moon Elder. However, the Reverence Moon Elder wasn't an ordinary person, and his strength had increased. The moment the void-shattering finger appeared, he quickly dodged. Break! The finger slammed into his arm, and a hole appeared. The Reverence Moon Elder went berserk, and black winds surged as he attacked again. Blinding light shone from his body, and he looked like a god of fire. His aura was oppressive. He struck out with his palm, and the momentum was terrifying. It was as if the palm of a god of fire had descended from the heavens, and it enveloped the surroundings. The palm contained a shocking amount of devil energy, and it burned fiercely. The sword chi in the surroundings dimmed from the heat. On the other hand, Lin Xian held the devil sword in his hand, and he slashed in all directions. At the same time, the dragon sword domain bloomed with resplendent light, and endless sword chi rushed out. It was extremely resplendent. The battle between the two shook the heavens and earth. Divine light soared into the sky, and killing intent filled the air. It was as if the entire mansion had turned into hell. Chapter 16:13. The battle between the two shook the heavens and the earth. Divine light soared into the sky, and killing intent filled the air. It was as though the entire place had turned into hell. After exchanging blows, the Reverence Moon Elder's heart pounded wildly. The more he thought about it, the more shocked he became. The battle intent and strength Huang Xiaolong displayed were too strong. Even the Reverence Moon Elder couldn't suppress it. At this moment, the Reverence Moon Elder went berserk once again. He burned his spiritual energy to obtain a terrifying amount of energy and sent out 3 powerful palm strikes. Flames filled the sky, and the spiritual energy in the surroundings surged. A vermilion bird flew out from the Reverence Moon Elder's palm, and it grew bigger. Its entire body was scarlet, and it emitted a red glow. It was exceptionally beautiful. However, behind this beauty, there was an eternal killing intent. The vermilion bird's body carried a terrifying amount of energy. The moment it appeared, the void couldn't withstand it. The vermilion bird spread its wings, and it charged towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian roared as he executed the heavenly dragon's 8 steps, and his speed reached the limit. He constantly changed his position in the air, and he dodged the attack. After dodging the main attack, Lin Xian's eyes shone brightly as he swung the 9 nether devil sword. He slashed down quickly. Buzz! He slashed out 3 times in a row. Lin Xian's face turned pale. The first slash was aimed at the Reverence Moon Elder's scarlet vermilion bird. This slash was like a sword being sharpened, and it carried a monstrous amount of killing intent. When it landed on the vermilion bird's body, a resplendent light exploded. The void exploded, and divine light shone down, illuminating the entire sky. At the same time, Lin Xian's second slash appeared. This slash cut through the void, and it traveled thousands of miles in an instant. In an instant, it appeared in front of the Reverence Moon Elder, and it slashed down with great speed, as though it wanted to split the Reverence Moon Elder in half. Scram! The Reverence Moon Elder's pupils shrank. He didn't expect Huang Xiaolong's sword chi to be so strange. He waved his hand quickly, and the scarlet domain in the sky trembled. A terrifying wall of fire formed in front of him, and he retreated at the same time. But at that moment, Lin Xian finally unleashed his third slash. This was his true killing move. Terrifying sword light of a sword chi, and it emitted a monstrous amount of killing intent, as black as the sword. Chi. What? There is more. The Reverence Moon Elder's scalp went numb when he saw this scene. However, he gritted his teeth, and his face was incomparably ferocious. This time, he actually ignored the sword chi and allowed it to descend. Then, he quickly waved his palms twice. This time, 2 more vermilion birds flew toward Lin Xian. A huge beam of light shot up, like a dancing demonic beast, like a child purple phoenix soaring through the sky. 2 shadows instantly crashed into Lin Xian's body. Boom! Heaven and earth shook violently, and the void split open. A huge explosion quickly took place. At that moment, even the cultivators in the outside world were suspicious because they also felt an indescribable energy. However, these people did not discover any battle after investigating, so they stopped paying attention to it. Inside the Reverence Moon Mansion, it was a tragic scene. Lin Xian spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. He had suffered heavy injuries. However, he circulated the immortality incantation, and the blood in his body surged like a dragon, quickly recovering. On the other side, the Reverence Moon Elder was also severely injured. That sword strike had almost split him into 2. Right now, his hair was disheveled, and he quickly swallowed pills to heal his body. However, he was ecstatic because he knew that Lin Xian's injuries were even more severe. His 2 palms were absolutely terrifying. Even a 5-star king would not be able to withstand it. Therefore, his opponent was dead meat. Ha ha ha. Kid, let's see how you're going to die this time. However, the Reverence Moon Elder was soon stunned. This was because he realized that his opponent had actually stood up. What? How is this possible? The Reverence Moon Elder narrowed his eyes in disbelief. His opponent had clearly been hit. How could he stand up? Damn it! This is impossible. The Reverence Moon Elder screamed crazily. He could not believe that someone's vitality was so tenacious. Even a 5-star king would have been killed by those 3 palms. However, his opponent had actually recovered from most of his injuries in an instant. What kind of technique was that? He had never heard of it before. Damn it! This kid either has a peerless pill or a shocking recovery technique. Otherwise, it's impossible for him to be so powerful. The Reverence Moon Elder's eyes were dark, and his gaze was incomparably bright. No matter what it was, the Reverence Moon Elder was extremely tempted. So far, Lin Xian had shown too many tricks up his sleeves. Extreme movement techniques, super powerful combat strength, and terrifying recovery ability. Every single one of them could set off a storm in the Eastern Wasteland. However, all these precious things were gathered in one person's hands. Moreover, it was a young man who was only a 2-star king. This was undoubtedly an opportunity for the Reverence Moon Elder. If he could kill Lin Xian, everything would be his. Kid, go to hell. The Reverence Moon Elder unleashed another technique and charged towards Huang Xiaolong. However, he quickly retreated again. Pong! The Reverence Moon Elder spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. His opponent's combat strength had increased again, especially that sword chi. It was too terrifying. It made him feel like he was on the verge of death. Moreover, he was already covered in injuries from the battle. More importantly, the effects of his elixir were about to wear off. Soon, his strength would return to normal. At that time, he would definitely not be a match for Lin Xian. Thinking of this, he went crazy again. He had no choice but to use that forbidden technique. Reverence Moon. At this moment, the Reverence Moon Elder's eyes were unusually ferocious. He sat cross-legged in the void and formed seals with his hands. Behind him, a full moon quickly formed. An indescribable energy spread out and enveloped the entire mansion. Immediately, the disciples of the Reverence Moon sect trembled and knelt on the ground. Unknowingly, a full moon had appeared in the sky. As for the disciples on the ground, they all knelt towards the sky. Furthermore, a peculiar energy floated out from their bodies and gathered in the full moon in the sky. It was like a river flowing into the sea. In the sky, the blood-red moon became more and more terrifying. The Reverence Moon Elder's aura also grew stronger. However, The disciples kneeling on the ground were pale and their auras weakened. Some of them even fainted. Some of them had their muscles shriveled up and turned into skeletons. What's going on? Lin Xian's eyes flickered and his expression was extremely solemn. This strange scene caused him to be extremely shocked. The Crimson Dragon also appeared beside Huang Xiaolong and said in a low voice, "What a vicious cultivation technique. It should be a secret technique of the Reverence Moon sect. It absorbs other people's energy and uses a special secret technique for its own use. However, this kind of energy is too tyrannical. I'm afraid these disciples won't be able to survive." Indeed, before the Crimson Dragon could make a move, these disciples would have already lost most of their energy. They wouldn't be able to live for long. At this time, the Reverence Moon Elder suddenly opened his eyes. Chapter 16:14. Two resplendent bolts of lightning shot out from the Reverence Moon Elder's eyes, piercing through the void palace. At this moment, the Reverence Moon Elder's strength had reached its peak. He stood up slowly, and his sleeves trembled, emitting a terrifying energy. Countless rays of light fell around him. How terrifying! This energy is close to that of a 6-star king. The Crimson Dragon was shocked. "Kid, retreat quickly." He pulled Lin Xian and retreated quickly. At the same time, a black hole appeared where they were originally standing. Terrifying flames turned into snakes that intertwined with each other. It was a terrifying sight. How powerful! Lin Xian's eyes widened. He didn't see anything at all. How did the Reverence Moon Elder make a move? That attack had almost killed them. What kind of secret technique is that? It's so terrifying. Lin Xian was shocked. It seemed like the Reverence Moon cult lived up to its name. The Reverence Moon cult's secret techniques were indeed endless. "Kid, in order to kill you, I used a supreme secret technique that killed all the disciples of the Reverence Moon cult. Now, you can go to hell." The Reverence Moon Elder's voice was cold, and it carried boundless killing intent. In the next moment, he retracted his palm, and the void trembled. A flaming palm appeared in the air, emitting a destructive aura. With a single slap, more than half of the manor collapsed. Lin Xian used the demigods and demigods to dodge the energy storm and kept retreating. However, he wasn't someone who was afraid. Hence, he let out a long roar and pushed the dragon sword domain to the limit. At this moment, boundless sword light shot into the sky, and he emitted a monstrous aura. He was like a god of war, unstoppable. "So what if you used a secret technique? Today, I will cut you down with my sword." Lin Xian's voice was sonorous. "Humph, you overestimate yourself." The Reverence Moon Elder, who had gained strength, smirked disdainfully. "My current strength is comparable to a 6-star king. Killing you is as easy as slaughtering a dog." As he spoke, he pointed with his finger. Suddenly, the void trembled, and countless flames turned into a dragon that spiraled out. Boundless light surged, and terrifying energy surged. It instantly pierced through the void and ignited the surrounding space. Most likely, no one below 6-star king realm would be able to stop him. However, something shocking happened. This time, Lin Xian didn't dodge at all. With a snap of his fingers, he instantly summoned the 10,000 Beast Ding and placed his palm on it. Suddenly, the sky was filled with black light as countless beasts roared. The 10,000 Beast Ding glowed brightly and quickly grew larger in the air. It was like a black demonic wall that stood in the void. Tens of thousands of demonic beasts fought over it. Many demonic beast images moved about continuously. Boom! The flaming azure dragon's finger hit the 10,000 Beast Ding. Suddenly, an earth-shattering explosion occurred. The entire void boiled, and a boundless sea of fire surged. However, although this energy was terrifying and could pierce through the void, it could not pierce through the 10,000 Beast Ding, let alone injure Lin Xian. Earth Step Treasure. The Reverence Moon Elder narrowed his eyes when he saw this. Soon after, a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. "Brat, I have to say, you're really full of surprises." Now, he had even used an Earth Step treasure. "Very good, it's mine now." As he spoke, He stretched out his palm and grabbed downwards without any hesitation. That palm was extremely terrifying. A red domain revolved rapidly in the center of his palm, directly locking down the void. That was the Reverence Moon Elder's King Realm. It was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He circulated his energy and poured it into the 10,000 beast ding. Suddenly, the 10,000 beast ding glowed brightly. The sounds of the beasts on it became even more real. Then, a huge claw reached out from the 10,000 life cauldron and slapped the void. This claw was extremely black, like the claw of a demon god. It was extremely terrifying and carried a shocking amount of energy. In the next moment, it slapped the Reverence Moon Elder's palm. Boom! Energy exploded as the two clashed. Sparks flew everywhere. However, although the 10,000 beast sting was strong, the Reverence Moon Elder was even more terrifying at this moment. He was like a god of war, and his palm contained a king's domain. Thus, under such immense power, the black palm was shattered with a single palm strike. Brat, it's useless. Stop struggling. You're no match for me. The Reverence Moon Elder sneered disdainfully. He waved his hand and grabbed at Lin Xian again. So strong. Lin Xian was shocked. He didn't expect that even the 10,000 beast sting couldn't stop the Reverence Moon Elder. However, at this moment, the Crimson Dragon at the side let out a long roar. With a dragon's roar, the entire void exploded. Terrifying energy swept out, shaking the entire mansion. At this moment, the sky seemed to collapse. Then, the Crimson Dragon waved its dragon claws, forming a huge dragon claw and grabbing forward. Pong! The dark red dragon claw was like a mountain. It was extremely terrifying. In the next moment, it collided with the Reverence Moon Elder's palm. What? He blocked it. The Reverence Moon Elder was shocked. He felt that his palm was blocked, and he even felt a piercing pain. This made him very surprised. Impossible. How can he block my palm? He frowned. In the next moment, his eyes were like lightning as he stared at the Crimson Dragon. You're from the dragon race. The Reverence Moon Elder was shocked. He didn't expect his opponent to be from the dragon race. No wonder he had such a strong physique and could block his palm. The Crimson Dragon gritted its teeth. Bin Huang didn't show his power, and you're really arrogant? Take my Overlord Dragon God Fist. The Crimson Dragon waved its other dragon claw, and a red fist appeared in the sky. The fist was filled with mysterious runes, and it was pushed forward at high speed. Pong! In the sky, the Reverence Moon Elder's palm was pushed back. Damn it! The Reverence Moon Elder's face was hideous. He felt that his entire palm was numb. The strength of his opponent was too terrifying. As expected of the dragon race, this kind of strength is really strong. A hint of madness appeared in the Reverence Moon Elder's eyes. I wonder if drinking your dragon blood will increase my cultivation again. At this moment, he was like a demon, staring at the Crimson Dragon. You dare to have designs on Bin Huang? Go to hell. The Crimson Dragon roared. Then, it swung its dragon tail and rushed forward to fight the Reverence Moon Elder. Shocking energy exploded as the two fought crazily. On the other side, Lin Xian didn't stay idle. He quickly formed seals with his palms and activated the Dragon Sword spiritual domain to the extreme. A deep dragon roar sounded, and then endless sword light soared into the sky. Lin Xian held the 9 Netherworld demonic sword in his hand, and energy exploded from his body. Moreover, the Dragon Sword spiritual domain kept compressing until it was completely attached to the 9 Netherworld demonic sword. Terrifying sword light shone in all directions. At this moment, the 9 Netherworld demonic sword was covered by the Dragon Sword spiritual domain, and it was extremely terrifying. He was like a real demon god's sword, floating in the sky. With a light slash, he could pierce through the void. At the same time, it also let him know that any large sect had a strong foundation and endless secret skills. Therefore, in the future, when encountering such a person, he must not let his guard down. The two of them sat down cross-legged and quickly healed their wounds. For the next few days, the two of them did not go out. The entire ancient city of Hanyang was in shock. It was because someone had discovered that the Reverence Moon Mansion had been destroyed, and everyone inside had been killed. Even the Reverence Moon Elder was no exception. This discovery shook the entire ancient city of Hanyang. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. One had to know that the Reverence Moon cult was a large sect in the eastern wilderness. They were extremely powerful. Who would dare to attack them? But now, it had actually happened, and it had succeeded. These people immediately thought of Lin Xian. In the ancient city of Hanyang, only Lin Xian had a conflict with the Reverence Moon cult. Impossible. This is impossible. However, the experts quickly rejected this idea. No matter how strong Lin Xian was, it was impossible for him to kill the Reverence Moon Elder and the dozens of Reverence Moon disciples. This was not something a young man could do. Moreover, what shocked them even more was that the entire mansion had been sealed, and no one had been able to escape. During the battle, no one had even discovered it. This kind of method was heaven-defying. Therefore, they ruled out Lin Xian as a suspect. They even believed that it was the work of an almighty expert. Otherwise, even if other experts had made a move, they would not have been able to kill all of them. If the Reverence Moon Elder wanted to escape, only almighty experts would be able to stop him. Who did it? For a moment, everyone was speculating. At the same time, they were extremely shocked. They did not dare to cause any more trouble for fear of being targeted by a mysterious expert. However, after some research, they guessed that it was most likely the work of an enemy of the Reverence Moon cult. If they wanted to blame someone, they could only blame the Reverence Moon cult for being too arrogant. They had probably offended someone, and that was why they had ended up like this. With the passage of time, this storm gradually passed. On the other side, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon did not go out after killing the Reverence Moon Elder. They went into seclusion to cultivate. The last great battle had caused them to suffer heavy injuries. They needed to recover. Here, they wanted to hide from the limelight so that they would not be targeted. In the room, Lin Xian sat cross-legged. His body was surrounded by resplendent light. At this moment, his injuries were completely healed. Not only that, but he was also cultivating a high-grade earth-rank martial art. He had already cultivated the mid-grade earth-rank martial art, the myriad sword art, to greater completion. Now, he could condense the power of 9,000 swords. It was extremely terrifying. With a single strike, even a 5-star king would be forced back. The high-grade earth-rank martial art he was cultivating now was a kind of domain comprehension called the 6th Divine Sword Art. As Lin Xian's cultivation increased, he became more familiar with the application of the king's domain. The king's domain was ever-changing. It was extremely powerful and mysterious. Previously, Lin Xian had only summoned it and used its power. Now, he was going to take a deeper step. For example, the Reverence Moon Elder's King's domain and Lin Xian's Dragon Sword domain had been compressed and attached to the 9 Nether Devil Sword. They were both new applications. The 6th Divine Sword Art was also a kind of King's domain cultivation technique. There were a total of 6 levels. Each level would condense a sword god in the domain to kill the enemy. Lin Xian was currently cultivating the first level, and what he condensed was Red Sword Qi. Around him, the Dragon Sword domain floated up and down. Inside it, streaks of Red Sword Qi were rapidly moving and combining, forming a set of strange sword formations. And in the midst of these Red Sword Qi, a red figure could be vaguely seen. However, it was very blurry, and one could not see its true form clearly. However, the power that it emitted was incomparably sharp. After a month of cultivation, Lin Xian had finally reached the small success stage of the first level. He could instantly activate 100,000 Red Sword Qi to form various killing methods. This time, he did not cultivate but came out of seclusion. Other than the small success stage of the sword art, there was another more important matter, and that was that the Stone Gambling Convention was about to begin. Chapter 1616. The Stone Gambling Conference was extremely important to him. Firstly, he needed to observe the young man named Hongyu at the conference, in order to complete the sect's mission. Moreover, he also wanted to cut out some treasures and obtain the best quality subdivine crystals to improve his cultivation. In fact, not only him, all the warriors in the ancient city were excited. In the center of the ancient city, there was a huge palace. It was magnificent and exuded an aura of desolation. It was an ancient palace. Normally, it was not open to the public. However, the ancient city of Hans Han opened the sacred palace for this stone gambling conference. This time, the stone gambling conference was held here. All kinds of strange stones were placed in the palace. Some were simple, some were majestic, and some were even shining. However, whether or not there were treasures inside would depend on each martial artist's own ability. When Lin Xian, the Crimson Dragon, Fatty Luo, and Du Fei came in, they were stunned. They found that the inside of the sacred palace was magnificent and spacious. It was far from what it looked like from the outside. No wonder it's an ancient sacred palace. It's amazing, Fatty Luo exclaimed. I bet we'll come back with a lot of treasures this time. Du Fei was also excited. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and looked forward. He found that the palace was different from what he had imagined. It was very spacious and there were many small halls. The stones placed in each hall were actually different. Of course, the cost to enter was different. It was said that one had to pay a high price to enter the innermost halls. Ordinary people could not afford it. Almost everyone in the ancient city of Hans Han had come. It could be said that this was a golden age. However, Lin Xian and the others soon ran into trouble, because a few people in the crowd were walking towards them. There were only 6 or 7 of them. One of them was a middle-aged man with a cold face and a terrifying aura. The aura did not spread out. It was directed at Lin Xian and the others. Lin Xian's face darkened. Although the aura was terrifying, it had no effect on him. However, he did not know the man. The man attacked him as soon as he came up. Obviously, he wanted to throw him out. This made him very unhappy. To the side, Fatty Luo also said in a low voice, "Damn it, it's the Yunyan sect." Yunyan sect? Lin Xian frowned. He did not recognize this sect. They have a good relationship with the moon-worshipping cult. Previously, you killed 2 of the moon-worshipping cult's candidate holy sons. Now, the moon-worshipping elder has died in a bizarre manner. They will definitely target you, Du Fei explained. Fatty Luo was furious. F***CK. He dared to bully others with his aura? I think they don't want to live anymore. The surrounding cultivators naturally saw this scene as well, but they did not say anything, nor did anyone step forward to stop it. Instead, they were all whispering to each other. The law enforcement team did not come because this was not an obvious attack. This kind of method of using pressure to scare people had indeed escaped the rules of the law enforcement team. Hee, kid, with us here today, don't even think about entering the stone gambling convention. Humph, how dare you kill 2 candidate holy princes of the moon-worshipping cult? You're dead meat. I advise you to be obedient and wait for your punishment. Several disciples of the Yunyan sect sneered. The middle-aged man even snorted coldly, his eyes shining brightly. Don't worry, with me here, this kid won't be able to enter. F***CK. You've gone too far. The Crimson Dragon gnashed his teeth, itching to attack. However, Lin Xian held him down and shook his head slightly. The other party was obviously trying to provoke them to attack and attract the law enforcement team. However, Lin Xian obviously did not want to do that. If the law enforcement team was alerted, it would be difficult for him to enter the convention today. He would not attack, but that did not mean he would let the other party go. In the next moment, he turned to Fatty Luo and said, "It's up to you now. F***CK. This young master can't wait any longer." Fatty Luo took a step forward and pointed to the front. Yunyan sect, right? Get out of my sight. How dare you block this young master's way? Believe it or not, I'll cripple you. On the side, Du Fei sneered. That's right. I bet you'll regret it soon. Where did this kid come from? How dare he tell us to get out of here? Slap him. Otherwise, you're dead meat. The martial artists of Yunyan sect shouted coldly and glared at him. They were here to bully him, but now they were being scolded by him? How could they tolerate that? More and more people gathered around and started discussing. In the crowd, the lunar saintess shook her head slightly. She knew who Fatty Luo and Du Fei were. This time, Yunyan sect was really going to be in trouble. In front of them, The middle-aged man also frowned and said coldly, "Kid, get out of my sight. Don't get in my way. Otherwise, if you anger me, you won't be able to walk out of Hanyang ancient city." "Oh my, are you threatening me? I'm so scared." Fatty Luo sneered. "Do you think I grew up scared?" As he spoke, he took out a token. "Look at what this is. If you dare to attack me, you'll have to bear the consequences." The silver token was very simple and unadorned. There was an ancient character on it, and a large flag on the back that fluttered in the wind. This was the second time Fatty Luo had taken out his token. The first time, he had scared Elder Baiwei away. This time, he took it out again in the face of Yunyin sect's provocation. The crowd was also extremely puzzled. The majority of them did not know what the silver token represented. However, the lunar saintess looked serious. On the other side, the five elements saint also frowned. Opposite them, the martial artists of Yunyin sect sneered when they saw this. "What, do you think you can save your lives by taking out a token? Let me tell you, if you dare to provoke Yunyin sect, you're dead meat." Those people sneered arrogantly. However, the middle-aged man suddenly turned his head and shouted in a low voice, "Shut up, elder." The disciples of Yunyin sect behind him trembled. They did not understand why their elder was angry. However, the middle-aged man did not pay attention to them. Instead, he stared at the silver token. Then, he took a deep breath and asked through gritted teeth, "What's the relationship between Luo Badeo and you?" "Luo Badeo? Who's Luo Badeo?" Hearing this, many of the surrounding warriors were stunned, but soon after, they sucked in a breath of cold air. Could it be Luo Badeo, one of the 10 great villains? When they thought of this, they were extremely shocked and their scalps went numb. Now, they finally knew why Elder Baiwei had turned and ran away that day. It was because of Luo Badeo's token. When the disciples of Yunyin sect heard this, they also trembled. A trace of fear appeared in their eyes. Fatty Luo said proudly, "That's my grandfather. What, are you going to attack me now?" "What?" When they heard this, everyone trembled and almost fell. The martial artists of Yunyin sect felt their scalps go numb and their hearts beat wildly. Chapter 16-17. They did not expect the kid in front of them to be Luo Badeo's grandson. At that moment, everyone looked at Fatty Luo with terrified expressions. Of course, they did not forget Du Fei because he was with Fatty Luo. At that moment, Fatty Luo grinned and pointed at Du Fei, saying, "This is my brother. His grandfather is Du Tianqing." Indeed, everyone was shocked. Du Tianqing was also one of the 10 villains. The martial artists from Yunyin sect were terrified, and the middle-aged man's face was gloomy. He did not expect that he would be in deep trouble this time. Not to mention him, even their sect master might not dare to touch these two people. His expression was uncertain. In the end, he gritted his teeth and cupped his fists. "Gentlemen, I'm sorry for offending you earlier. Please forgive me." After saying that, he dived into the crowd and left without looking back. The few disciples of the Yunyin sect were like stray dogs as they quickly followed behind. Everyone was shocked. The 10 villains were indeed ferocious and terrifying. Even the elders of Yunyin sect did not dare to provoke them. However, there was one person who was very confused. That was Lin Xian. He asked, "10 villains? What 10 villains?" "I'm going to faint." Everyone's mouth twitched as they looked at Lin Xian as if they were looking at a monster. There was someone who did not know about the 10 villains? That was too strange. Could it be that this guy came from a mountain village? However, more people were speechless. You don't even know about the 10 villains, and you dare to gather with these 2 little villains? How bold. However, Lin Xian soon learned about the legend of the 10 villains. They were definitely ferocious people. Each of them was extremely powerful and had monstrous combat strength. Moreover, these 10 people had no scruples. They did things as they pleased and did not follow any rules at all. They did not even care about any sect. As long as they wanted to, they would do it. Because of that, they even had conflicts with sacred grounds and clan of the ancients. However, until now, they were all living well. One could imagine how terrifying these people were. Especially Luo Badeo, who had torn apart a mighty figure. He was extremely powerful. Fatty Luo was Luo Badeo's grandson. As long as he revealed his identity, not many people would dare to provoke him. I see. Lin Xian suddenly understood. The 10 villains were extremely powerful in the eastern wasteland. Naturally, no one dared to offend their descendants. I didn't expect the two of you to have such identities, Lin Xian said with a smile. Fatty Luo scratched his head. It can't be helped. Our identities are too sensitive. Most people don't want to play with us. It wasn't easy to find Brother Lin. We don't want to scare you away. Brother Lin, you won't run away in fear, right? On the other side, Du Fei also asked. You were really shocked, but why did you run away? Lin Xian patted them on the shoulder. We're friends. Yes, we are friends. We're brothers. Fatty Luo laughed loudly. Then, the group of people walked forward. Instantly, the crowd automatically dispersed. What a joke. Who would dare to block the way now? However, what surprised everyone was that there really was someone who dared to block their way. Of course, they weren't ordinary martial artists. Ordinary martial artists didn't dare to offend the 10 villains at all. However, the people in front of them didn't seem to have much scruples. You're Lin Xian? A young man in a thunder robe asked with a smile. That's right. Lin Xian nodded. You are? I'm the saint of the Thousand Thunder sect. These are my friends, the young man in the thunder robe said slowly. The Thousand Thunder saint. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect the Thousand Thunder sect to participate. On the side, Fatty Luo also transmitted his voice. Be careful. The Thousand Thunder sect has clashed with the 10 villains before, so they definitely don't have good intentions. Lin Xian was also surprised. The Thousand Thunder sect had clashed with the 10 villains before. No wonder they dared to block the way here. Therefore, he asked coldly, May I know why you're blocking the way? Not really, the Thousand Thunder Saint said with a smile. I heard you're also a seeker spirit master. Why? Do you want my brother to go stone gambling for you? Fatty Luo frowned. Stone gambling? Use him? Who does he think he is? Is he worthy of stone gambling for the Thousand Thunder Saint? At this moment, a young man in a red robe beside the Thousand Thunder Saint snorted disdainfully. What did you say? Du Fei was also unhappy. How dare the other party provoke him like this? I mean, what ability does he have? He's just lucky to cut out 2 stones. Do you really think he's a seeker spirit master? Ridiculous. He's not a seeker spirit master, are you? The Crimson Dragon also snorted. The other party obviously had an expression that deserved a beating. Of course I am, the red-robed young man said proudly. Then, he looked down at Lin Xian. Boy, do you dare to bet with me? I'll expose you in front of everyone. Bet? Lin Xian frowned. Yes, bet. We'll choose stones on the spot and see who can cut the treasure better. The red-robed young man said coldly. What? You don't dare? Why not? Lin Xian snorted. Since the other party dared to provoke him, how could he not take action? Moreover, he was very confident in his martial Dao, Heavenly Eye. What? Stone gambling. Hearing this, the surrounding people were also alarmed and gathered around. This was a stone gambling convention. Stone gambling between seeker spirit masters was a common occurrence. However, the people who were participating in the stone gambling this time made them even more excited. One was Lin Xian, who was now very popular in the ancient city of Hanyang. The other person was invited by the Thousand Thunder Saint, who was presumably not weak. Isn't he from the Tuoba family? In the crowd, a genius exclaimed. What? He's from the Tuoba family? For a moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on the red-robed young man. Obviously, they were very surprised that the other party was from the Tuoba family. Humph! The red-robed young man snorted and raised his chin proudly. At this time, the Thousand Thunder Saint explained with a smile, That's right. He's the young genius of the Tuoba family, Tuoba Yi. He really is from the Tuoba family. Hearing the Thousand Thunder Saint's explanation, the surrounding people became even more excited. Fatty Luo and Du Fei's faces also darkened. They quickly said, Brother Lin, be careful. The Tuoba family is an ancient family of seeker spirit masters. Although they are arrogant, they do have means. You must be careful during the stone gambling. Seeker spirit master family. Lin Xian was also surprised. Then, he smiled slightly and said, "Let me see what kind of means the seeker spirit master family has. How could it make everyone so shocked? What an idiot. How dare you bet with me? Boy, you'll regret it soon." Tuoba Yi sneered. "Cut the crap. Since it's stone gambling, what are you betting on?" Du Fei asked coldly. Chapter 16:18. Cut the crap. Since it is stone gambling, what are you betting on? Du Fei asked coldly. He was a gambling addict and naturally had to pay attention to this area. Tuoba Yi looked around and sneered. This is only the outermost stone gambling area. There shouldn't be any strange stones that are too big. How about this? Let's bet 50 caddies of subdivine crystals. How about that? If we bet too much, I'm afraid you won't be able to afford it. Tuoba Ye's face was filled with pride as he spoke. All right. Lin Xian nodded without any hesitation. 50 caddies of subdivine crystals. A casual bet? The surrounding martial artists were speechless. They might not even have 50 caddies of subdivine crystals, but now, the two of them were casually betting and had taken out so much. Perhaps only a seeker spirit master would dare to do such a thing. Very well, kid. I will let you know what a true seeker spirit master is. Tuoba Yi snorted and waved his hand, taking out 50 caddies of subdivine crystals. Lin Xian didn't hesitate and threw out 50 caddies of subdivine crystals as well. Instantly, the surrounding crowd got excited. It seemed like the two of them were really going against each other, and there had to be a victor. This duel was undoubtedly an exciting match for everyone. At the front, after Tuoba Yi threw out the subdivine crystals, he started to walk forward slowly. He wanted to pick a strange stone to defeat Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian didn't move. His eyes flickered as he executed his martial Dao, Heavenly Eye, and quickly scanned the front. The martial Dao Heavenly Eye was extremely deep as it flickered with peculiar runes. It could see through everything. Soon, Lin Xian curled his lips into a smile as he locked onto his target. He waved his hand, and a stone floated towards him. That stone was as tall as a human. It was grayish-brown and simple. If it wasn't placed here, no one would take a second look at it. Tuoba Yi sneered when he saw Lin Xian choose his stone so quickly. At the same time, his eyes flickered with purple radiance as he quickly scanned the front. Soon, he chose a stone that was flickering with radiance. It was 2 meters tall and was extremely tall. "Kid, you will definitely lose this time." Tuoba Yi sneered. "Lose my ass. We haven't even cut it open yet. How do you know we'll lose?" Fatty Luo snorted coldly. He was extremely displeased. "That's right. I bet that you'll be the one to lose this time." Du Feng shouted coldly. "You still dare to be stubborn when you're about to die? Very well. I'll make you accept your defeat wholeheartedly." Tuoba Yi didn't say anything else. He waved his hand and took out a black dagger before cutting the rock rapidly. The black dagger flickered with black light, and there were many complicated inscriptions carved on it. Not only that, but it was also sharp. His technique was very special, dazzling the eyes, making it impossible for others to see clearly. However, the 2-meter-tall strange stone began to shatter into pieces and gradually become smaller. This stone-cutting technique was a unique skill of the Tuoba family. Outsiders were unable to learn it and could only express their envy. Soon, the surrounding crowd exclaimed. That was because when he was halfway through cutting the stone, a dazzling light suddenly burst out from the stone. It was like a rosy sunset that illuminated the surroundings. Treasure. There really is a treasure. Everyone was shocked. No wonder he's a genius of the Tuoba family. He's really impressive. Exclamations sounded one after another. Then, everyone discovered that a millstone-sized subdivine crystal had appeared in the 2-meter-tall stone. Moreover, it was a high-quality subdivine crystal. It looks like it's more than 200 kilograms. That's right, and it's many subdivine crystals. This was only the outermost area, so there shouldn't be anything good. It was already considered good if an ordinary Seeker Spirit Master could cut out a 5-kilogram piece. Now that there was 100 kilograms, he was definitely a peerless genius. It seemed that the kid was going to lose for sure. It couldn't be helped. He was a genius of the Tuoba family, and no one else could compare to him. Perhaps only the people from the Ryu family could compete with him. Exclamations sounded one after another. Clearly, they were all praising the Tuoba family, and no one was optimistic about Lin Xian. A bunch of bastards. What nonsense are you talking about? My brother hasn't cut it yet. How do you know he'll lose? Fatty Luo was unhappy. Du Fei also said, that's right. I dare to bet that my brother Lin will be able to cut out a supreme-grade subdivine crystal. Supreme-grade subdivine crystal? Are you a cabbage? Tuoba Yi sneered. Kid, it's still not too late to admit defeat. You'll only lose a mere 50 kilograms of subdivine crystal. However, if there's nothing in the rock you're going to cut, you'll lose more than just this little bit of subdivine crystal. I'm afraid you won't have the face to stay here in the future. Lin Xian heard and sneered with disdain. You're the one who won't have the face to stay here. You'll know soon enough. After speaking, he didn't say anything else. He used his finger like a knife and cut the rock beside him. His method was very bold as he cut the rock in half. What? Directly cut from the middle? This kid doesn't want his life anymore. Damn, he's too bold. If there's any treasure, wouldn't it be destroyed by him? Everyone exclaimed and couldn't believe it. Tuoba Ye's eyelids twitched before he sneered. He's indeed an idiotic kid. How can he cut so quickly? He's obviously not a Seeker Spirit Master. Lin Xian didn't pay any attention to him. He went straight down from the middle. However, nothing appeared after he cut it open. There wasn't any radiance. This made everyone sigh while Tuoba Yi sneered. Kid, don't waste your effort. There isn't anything. Lin Xian waved his sleeve and threw the upper half of the rock to the side. He then stared at the lower half of the rock and waved his finger again. Sigh, it's useless. Normally, treasures would be in the center of the rock. If there's no treasure in the center, it means there's nothing left. I heard that this Lin Xian had cut out a supreme-grade subdivine crystal and thought he was an incredible Seeker Spirit Master. Now, it seems like he was just lucky. Yeah, no one dares to be arrogant in front of Tuoba Yi. This Lin Xian is no exception. He will definitely be defeated. Everyone was discussing while shaking their heads and sighing. But at the next moment, they all shut up. Not only that, but they also widened their eyes as though they saw a ghost. Because Lin Xian's fingertip suddenly burst out with boundless radiance. It wasn't from Lin Xian, but from the rock under his feet. Treasure, there's actually a treasure. Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. What? How is it possible? Tuoba Ye's expression changed as his eyes turned gloomy. He didn't expect Lin Xian to really cut out a treasure. Moreover, what made him even more uncomfortable was that Lin Xian's radiance seemed to be more intense than his previous radiance. The surrounding people also noticed this and immediately exclaimed, "This radiance is so powerful. It's much stronger than the previous one. Could it really be a rare treasure? It can't be. This Lin Xian's luck is actually so good? Luck? You're still talking about luck? Try cutting one for me." Fatty Luo snorted. Chapter 16:19. Hearing this, everyone went silent. It was impossible for his luck to be so good all the time. For Lin Xian to continuously cut out treasures, it was definitely due to his own strength. Lin Xian must be an extremely powerful Seeker Spirit Master. On the other side, the Myriad Thunder Saint had a gloomy expression. He didn't expect Lin Xian to actually cut out treasures. Tuoba Yi gritted his teeth and said, "Don't worry. The radiance might be strong, but it doesn't mean that there are treasures." Something like this happened in the past. The radiance was strong, but it was just trash. Therefore, until the last point, no one knows who will win or lose. To be honest, he still had hope in his heart. But at the next moment, his expression changed drastically, and his heart sank into a bottomless pit. Because there was a fist-sized crystal stone in the stone in front of him. Divine radiance flickered and circulated with vigorous energy. Superior grade subgod crystal. Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. The myriad thunder saint had an awful expression while Tuoba Ye's face was ashen. He didn't expect Lin Xian to really cut out a superior-grade subgod crystal, and it was the size of a fist. The value was far beyond what he had cut out. Damn it! Impossible. I have already checked. There is nothing in this stone. How can there be a superior-grade subgod crystal? Tuoba Ye seemed to be in a frenzy as he constantly roared. Indeed, he had already checked earlier and didn't find any abnormalities in Lin Xian's stone. Therefore, he was so disdainful and thought that Lin Xian was bound to lose. But now, things had exceeded his expectations. Lin Xian didn't just cut out treasures, but it was also a superior-grade subgod crystal that was far superior to what he had cut out. He couldn't accept it. Seeing the frenzied Tuoba Ye, everyone had a weird expression. The myriad thunder saint had an even gloomier expression. He snorted and turned to leave. He had lost a lot of face today, and he was afraid that everyone would ridicule him later on. He wasn't willing to accompany Tuoba Ye and be ridiculed by others. Tuoba Ye didn't know that the myriad thunder saint had left. He was currently staring at Lin Xian. Lin Xian sneered and said, "What standards do you have? Have you checked for treasures? Are there really no treasures?" "That's right. A piece of trash dares to compete with Brother Lin in stone gambling? You're courting death." Fatty Luo was extremely excited at the moment. Of course, he was going to deliver a merciless blow. On the side, Du Fei didn't let him off either. "Stop struggling. You've already lost. Hurry up and hand over 50 kilograms of subdivinity crystals and get lost." They were truly overjoyed because Tuoba Ye was too arrogant and didn't even put them in his eyes. Now that they could viciously strike down the other party's arrogance, they were naturally happy. "Brat, just you wait. This isn't over yet." Tuoba Ye's expression was abnormally ugly, but he didn't dare to stay here any longer. This was because the complicated gazes of the surrounding martial artists were like thorns that pierced his heart. This made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Therefore, he snorted coldly and hurriedly fled. Ha 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 ha. Fatty Luo, Du Fei, and the Crimson Dragon all burst into laughter when they saw the fleeing figure. Venting. This was too venting. In the future, who would dare to look down on them? The corners of Lin Xian's mouth also curled up slightly, but he did not let his guard down. He knew that Tuoba Ye was only a disciple of the Tuoba family. For the Tuoba family to have such a great reputation and be revered by everyone, there must be something unique and formidable about them. Therefore, he had to be careful when he encountered the Tuoba family in the future. With a wave of his hand, Lin Xian kept the supreme-grade subdivinity crystals that he obtained. However, he gave the 100 subdivinity crystals to Fatty Luo and Du Fei. The two of them instantly beamed with joy. They might have special identities and didn't lack subdivinity crystals, but how could it be compared to the spoils of war? This feeling was simply too wonderful. "Brother Lin, let's go inside and take a look. The outside is filled with ordinary stones. The inside is where the truly mystical stones are. This time, we have to cut out even better treasures. Let's see if we can cut out an ancient treasure." Fatty Luo and Du Fei's eyes lit up. The Crimson Dragon was also excited. "Haha, it would be great if we can cut out an ancient treasure." Hearing this, Lin Xian rolled his eyes. These three fellows were too imaginative. They probably wouldn't even be able to see such a thing. However, he still followed the crowd and walked inside together. This stone gambling convention was rare. Since he was here, he naturally wouldn't return empty-handed. In the following period of time, Lin Xian frequently took action and naturally obtained a great harvest. Not only him, but Fatty Luo, the Crimson Dragon, and Du Fei also obtained treasures. Lin Xian's reputation quickly spread in the Sacred Hall. However, it wasn't just him. There were also many powerful Seeker Spirit Masters who came to the Stone Gambling Convention. In front, Lin Xian saw an especially powerful Seeker Spirit Master. He was familiar with that person. It was the middle-aged man who had set up the stall on the street. Lin Xian knew that he was a Seeker Spirit Master from the Ryu family. Even the Crimson Dragon, Du Fei, and Fatty Luo next to him were watching carefully. It couldn't be helped. The Ryu family's Seeker Spirit Masters were very famous. They were even more famous than the Tuoba family. In front of them, the middle-aged man surnamed Lu walked slowly. In his eyes, there was a strange light. His eyeballs quickly faded and finally turned pure white. Even his pupils seemed to have disappeared. The pure white eyes were very strange. They bloomed with a terrifying light, forming a radiance that quickly enveloped the stone in front of him. Soon, the middle-aged man waved his hand and a 3-foot-long stone floated to his side. The stone was very old. It was covered with moss and even rusted in some places. It seemed to have been exposed to wind and rain for countless years. The surrounding crowd also cried out in surprise. "This stone is a precious stone in the sacred hall. I didn't expect it to be cut at this moment." "Yes, this stone is very expensive. I'm afraid it's worth 5,000 caddies of substandard divine crystals. Ordinary seeker spirit masters wouldn't dare to buy it. 5,000 caddies of substandard divine crystals? Even a powerful figure would feel the pinch. If it can't be cut, I'm afraid it'll be a loss. I'm afraid that only a family like the Ryu family would dare to cut this stone." The middle-aged man's action caused a sensation in the crowd. Even a group of elders came from the depths of the hall to watch. These people were very old. They were all more than 3,000 years old. Each of them was like a living fossil. However, at this moment, these elders seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. Their eyes bloomed with a fiery light. Their gazes were so terrifying that even Lin Xian felt his blood boil. It was as if his blood had been ignited. How terrifying! Who are these people? Lin Xian was astonished. Just a single glance had almost set his entire body ablaze. Wasn't this a little too terrifying? Chapter 1620. The dark red divine dragon shrunk his head back. Although he was arrogant in his actions as a member of the dragon race, he did not dare to be arrogant in front of these living fossils. Even Fatty Luo and Du Fei had grave expressions on their faces. Although this stone gambling conference is held in Hanyang Ancient City, the forces behind it are the clans of the Ancients and the Peerless Holy Lands. These seniors might be from the Holy Lands and the clans of the Ancients. Of course, there are also talents from other places. That's right. Du Fei nodded. The Eastern Wilderness is too big. It's boundless and filled with billions of living beings. It's not surprising that there are some special people here. Terrifying indeed. Lin Xian was shocked, and his expression was incomparably solemn. He realized that the Reverence Moon Elder he had killed was nothing more than an ant in front of this group of old men. At the same time, the front became lively. The middle-aged man from the Ryu family was finally going to cut the stone. The Ryu family's stone-cutting technique was even more mysterious. Not long after, the strange stone became very small. The middle-aged man's speed also slowed down. The reason for that was because he had arrived at the most crucial location. Everyone held their breaths and watched carefully, afraid that they would disturb the middle-aged man. He cut the stone, and the stone fell. Suddenly, a bright light shone. Whoosh! Everyone exclaimed. There really is a treasure. I just don't know how precious it is. They did not know yet, so they could only watch patiently. More and more stones fell, and the light became brighter. It was like a sun. When the last stone fell, the hall was completely illuminated by the light. The powerful energy was like a tidal wave, rapidly sweeping across the area. At that moment, everyone was stupefied. Even those of the older generation that were living fossils were dumbstruck. In the next moment, their eyes lit up, and they even trembled. Their withered faces shone with a strange luster as the divine light shone on them. Divine crystals. It's a divine crystal, one of the living fossils exclaimed. Then, everyone else exclaimed in shock. A divine crystal was a rare treasure. It was as big as a fist. It was definitely priceless. The middle-aged man wiped the sweat off his forehead and heaved a sigh of relief. It was obvious that he had consumed a lot of energy. However, he was very satisfied with this result. If he could cut out a piece of divine crystal, it would definitely shock the world. Lin Xian was also extremely surprised. The divine crystal was a true treasure. He had only seen one piece of it in Feng Mountain. Moreover, that piece of land had already caused the five almighties to fight over it. However, she still managed to escape in the end. The piece that had just been cut out was not as big as the previous one, but it was definitely a shocking treasure. This was because the surrounding talking stones had already stepped forward to negotiate with the middle-aged man. Obviously, they wanted to buy the divine crystal. As expected of a member of the Ryu family, he was indeed very powerful to be able to find a divinity crystal here. Fatty Luo exclaimed in surprise, while the Crimson Dragon kept tugging at Lin Xian. "Brat, why don't you cut it up and see if you can get a divine crystal?" He was so excited that he was drooling when he saw the divine crystal. If it weren't for the fact that there were so many talking stones in front of him, the Crimson Dragon would have rushed forward to snatch it. "Damn, do you think that's cabbage? Do you think you can cut it just like that?" The corner of Lin Xian's mouth twitched slightly. "I need to be lucky to get this thing. Let's wait and see." Lin Xian was not instigated by the Crimson Dragon. At least, he did not make a move immediately. Next, they set off again to look at all kinds of stones. Lin Xian was very envious of a few of them. He wanted to cut them open to take a look. However, when he saw the price, he immediately shook his head and gave up. He had no choice. The price was too shocking. It could be said that it was a sky-high price. He could not afford it at all. Moreover, after his observation along the way, he found that only a few people could cut out treasures. Many other Seeker Spirit Masters also failed. Even if they cut out treasures, they would lose money. Therefore, the ones who made the most money were the remote antiquity families and the unparalleled sacred grounds behind the stone gambling convention. They are indeed good at doing business. Lin Xian shook his head. The stone gambling convention was definitely profitable. Of course, that was not necessarily the case. If there was really an unparalleled expert who cut out a diluted treasure, the remote antiquity families and sacred grounds would definitely cry. However, such a situation was very rare. They chatted as they walked. Soon, they saw an annoying person. Tuoba Yi. "Yo, who is this? Isn't he the genius of the Tuoba family? Didn't he lose to us previously? How dare he show himself now?" Fatty Luo sneered. Du Fei also snorted, "If I were you, I would be too ashamed to stay here. I have to say that you are really thick-skinned." On the other hand, the dark red divine dragon laughed out loud. "Kid, could it be that you're here to give us treasures again?" Hearing their mockery, Tuoba Ye's face instantly turned black. If it were not for the fact that fighting was prohibited here, he would have pounced and fought with them. However, he still held it in. He sneered, "Don't be too proud. I have already invited the experts of my family." "Kid, aren't you arrogant? You don't even put our Tuoba family in your eyes. Do you dare to fight again today? I will definitely let you know the consequences of provoking our Tuoba family." "Not interested." Lin Xian shrugged his shoulders and turned to leave. He was really not interested in being entangled with someone like Tuoba Yi, because it was purely a waste of time. "You." Tuoba Yi was enraged because he did not expect that his provocation would not work. Lin Xian did not even bother about him. This made him feel as though he had punched cotton. At this moment, an aged voice sounded from behind. "Kid, you want to leave after winning against our Tuoba family? It's not that easy in this world." This voice contained a trace of coldness that sent chills down everyone's spine. In front, Lin Xian stopped in his tracks and frowned. Although he didn't turn around, he could feel a peculiar gaze firmly locked onto him from behind with his outstanding soul force. That gaze contained a mysterious energy that made him feel extremely uncomfortable. It was obvious that this was a very powerful eye technique. "Expert." Lin Xian was shocked, but he still turned around. As expected, the crowd behind him dispersed, and an old man holding a dragon-headed cane slowly walked out. He was wearing a white long robe with a piccio embroidered on it with golden thread. His hair was white, and his skin was dry like a dried orange peel. This old man was very old, but his eyes were extremely deep like the starry sky. Seeing this kind of senior figure walking over, the surrounding warriors also looked over one after another. Then, they were all extremely shocked. "Tuoba Yulong. It's him." Chapter 1621. What? Tuoba Yulong. It's actually him. Someone of the older generation exclaimed in the crowd. Evidently, they recognized the old man in front of them. Tuoba Yulong was an elder of the Tuoba family and had terrifying strength. It was rumored that his spirit-seeking technique was very powerful and he had obtained divine gems many times. He was definitely a terrifying spirit-seeking master. What? So terrifying. The surrounding warriors were also shocked. They hadn't expected this elder to have such a powerful background. Putting aside the fact that he was an elder of the Tuoba family, the fact that he had obtained divine gems many times was enough to shock the world. Even if he wasn't from the Tuoba family, he would probably be treated as a guest of honor by the various major factions. At this moment, even Lin Xian, the Crimson Dragon, Fatty Luo, and Du Fei had grave expressions. Evidently, the other party was a true expert, and wasn't someone that a brat like Tuoba Yi could compare to. Tuoba Yi revealed a sinister smile, and his eyes were filled with pride. How is it, brat? Are you afraid? Offending the Tuoba family is the biggest mistake you've made in your life. Hearing that, everyone fell silent. They hadn't expected Tuoba Yi to find an old monster. However, what was even more shocking was that there were two young men standing beside Tuoba Yulong. One was the Thousand Thunder Saint, who was wearing a lightning robe, while the other was wearing a long green robe and was surrounded by a resplendent green light. Unfettered Saint. Everyone was shocked again. They hadn't expected the unfettered sect to come as well. The two saints stood beside Tuoba Yulong as if they were his juniors, supporting him. Such a scene was hard to imagine. Young man, if you don't gamble with me today, you won't be able to leave. Tuoba Yulong's voice was old and deep, but it was filled with boundless power. No one is allowed to casually bully our Tuoba family. Since you've defeated Year, you have to fight with me. I'll let you know the true strength of the Tuoba family. Previously, he had seen Lin Gongzi's methods, but he hadn't had enough fun. How about another gamble? The Myriad Thunder Saint said with a smile. Although he was smiling, his eyes were somewhat gloomy. Lin Xian's victory had made him lose face. After all, Tuoba Yi was brought here by him. If Tuoba Yi was defeated, he naturally wouldn't feel good. He originally thought that he didn't have the chance to defeat Lin Xian, but he didn't expect Tuoba Yi to actually call for the clan's elders. This was an excellent opportunity. On the other side, the unfettered saint did not speak, but there was an unquestionable aura around him. In fact, the crowd even felt that the entire space had solidified. It looked like if Lin Xian didn't make a move, the other party really wouldn't let them go. Brat, what should we do? Are you going to do it? The Crimson Dragon asked. On the other side, Fatty Luo and Du Fei also said, Brother Lin, if you don't want to compete, we'll take you away. Don't worry. With us here, they definitely won't dare to do anything to you. The two were very confident. After all, the reputation of the top 10 villains wasn't just for show. Lin Xian thought for a moment, then the corners of his mouth curled up. No matter. Since they want to compete, I'll accompany them in this gamble. What? The crowd couldn't believe their ears. Lin Xian still wanted to compete? This time, it was the Tuoba family's elder, Tuoba Yulong. He was an extremely powerful seeker spirit master. However, Lin Xian still wanted to compete. Was he really confident? Or was he just showing off? The crowd didn't know. They guessed that it was more likely the latter. After all, no one believed that Lin Xian could defeat a powerful elder like Tuoba Yulong. On the opposite side, Tuoba Yi, the Myriad Thunder Saint, and the others all laughed when they heard this. They laughed maniacally. Haha, kid, I have to say that you're really too stupid. This time, you'll definitely suffer a crushing defeat. Tuoba Yi was very excited. He couldn't wait to see the scene of Lin Xian's defeat. Tuoba Yulong's orange peel-like face also revealed a strange smile. At the same time, his gaze, which was faintly purple, fell on Lin Xian. It seemed that he wanted to see through or discover Lin Xian's secret. Because in his opinion, Lin Xian must have some tricks up his sleeve to be able to defeat Tuoba Yi. Moreover, he really wanted to know what kind of background Lin Xian had for him to agree to compete with him. Sensing the other party's gaze, Lin Xian snorted coldly. Countless sword chi emerged from his body and instantly surrounded him. At the same time, he said coldly, "Isn't it a bit too much for Senior to investigate me so unscrupulously?" On the opposite side, Tuoba Yulong narrowed his eyes. To be honest, it wasn't surprising that the other party discovered his investigation. However, what surprised him was that he couldn't find any information. The other party's sword chi was very strange. It actually blocked his gaze. This was the first time such a thing had happened. However, he didn't care. He snorted coldly. "Kid, there's no point in talking anymore. Let's start the battle now. The stones here are too ordinary. Why don't we go deeper?" Tuoba Yulong said indifferently. "As you wish." Lin Xian didn't refuse. He wanted to see what the other party had up his sleeve. Then, with the help of the Thousand Thunder Saint Sun and the Unfettered Saint Sun, Tuoba Yulong quickly walked deeper into the sacred palace. The others also followed, walking quickly. This would definitely be an earth-shattering battle. One was a young genius, while the other was an elder. It was definitely an earth-shattering gamble. However, Du Fei, Fatty Luo, and the others asked telepathically, "Brother Lin, are you confident?" "The other party is an old monster. At least 50%, Lin Xian replied. Indeed, although the other party's eye technique was powerful, Lin Xian was very confident in his martial path, Heavenly Eye. The martial path, Heavenly Eye, was one of the peerless theurgies in the eastern wilderness. Very few people could cultivate it. Not only had Lin Xian cultivated it, but he'd also cultivated it to a certain level. At least, he was more than 50% confident in defeating Tuoba Yulong. Great. In that case, let's take down that old monster's arrogance. Crimson Dragon and the others nodded, then quickly followed Lin Xian into the depths of the palace. The sacred palace was divided into 10 areas. The deeper one went, the more precious the stones were. Of course, the more expensive they were. Just the entrance fee alone was enough to make everyone's heart ache. However, in order to see the prosperity of stone gambling, they all gritted their teeth and bought tickets to watch the battle. The 7th area, the originally spacious area, was filled with people. Even some of the older generation figures who were living fossils had come to watch the battle. Lin Xian naturally came with the others. He looked around and found that there were many strange stones around. Any one of them was far more valuable than the previous ones. Chapter 1622. Lin Xian naturally followed the crowd here. He glanced around and found that there were many strange stones placed around him. Any one of them was far superior to the ones before. As expected of the 7th region, it's strong. Lin Xian was surprised. He only glanced around and found several of the stones contained treasures. However, he didn't act rashly. He knew that the other party must be a very powerful seeker who knew some powerful spirit-seeking techniques that could interfere with his heavenly eye. As expected, other seekers' spirit masters in the crowd seemed to have found treasures and immediately spent a lot of money to buy a piece. However, when he cut it open, he found that it was empty. There were no treasures at all. Immediately, the seeker spirit master who bought the stone vomited blood and fainted. The other seeker spirit master's expressions changed drastically. They looked at Tuoba Yulong in horror. They knew that Tuoba Yulong must have used a powerful spirit-seeking technique to hide the true appearance of these stones. That was why the seeker spirit master had misjudged them. So strong. Tuoba Yulong is indeed an elder of the Tuoba family. His methods are extraordinary. This should be an illusion technique. With him here, the other seeker spirit masters won't be able to find any treasures. Even Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. As expected, the other party's methods were powerful enough to interfere with other seeker spirit masters. However, he had the heavenly eye and could see through everything. The other party couldn't interfere with him. While everyone was discussing, Tuoba Yulong had already stepped forward to select a stone. Lin Xian also used his heavenly eye. His eyes flashed with strange runes as he looked forward. However, his expression changed in the next moment. Tuoba Yulong's dragon head walking stick shook slightly. The surrounding stones flew up on their own and flew toward Lin Xian. "What's going on?" everyone exclaimed. not understanding what was going on. Lin Xian's face darkened, and he snorted coldly in his heart, "Damned old man. You dare to play tricks with me?" If he broke one of these stones that flew towards him, he would lose the bet, because that would be equivalent to him cutting open a stone and not being able to cut it open again. Therefore, he could not touch a single one of these stones. Although the other party's methods were strong, Lin Xian's methods were not weak either. With a cold snort, a bright light bloomed around his body. A green domain instantly appeared and covered all the stones. Moreover, they bounced back at an even faster speed. Not only that, Lin Xian did not damage these stones at all. Soon, the stones in the sky flew forward like shooting stars. He arrived before Tuoba Yulong in an instant. Not only that, but these stones also rapidly rotated, forming a strange formation, trapping Tuoba Yulong there. If you want to play tricks with me, I'll play with you." Lin Xian smirked, and the runes in his eyes shone even brighter. Whoosh! The surrounding people exclaimed. They had never seen such a method before. The Seeker Spirit Masters were even more shocked. All of them widened their eyes, unwilling to let go of any detail. Ahead, Tuoba Yulong's face sank. He didn't expect that the other party's method would be so powerful as to be able to break his spirit-seeking technique in an instant. Not only that, but the other party also backhanded him. Although the array formation around him wasn't of much use to him, it wasn't very effective. However, the other party's counterattack and forceful attitude made him very unhappy. As an elder of the Tuoba family and an extremely powerful Seeker Spirit Master, he was very famous in the Eastern Wilderness. Now, a brat actually dared to attack him? He couldn't tolerate it. With a cold snort, he waved the dragon-headed cane in his hand again. The cane waved, emitting a strange energy. Instantly, the stones in the sky seemed to be controlled by this energy and returned to their original places meekly. Everything returned to normal as if nothing had happened. However, the surrounding people were not calm. Lin Xian and Tuoba Yulong's methods were too shocking. They were in awe. Seeing the other party easily break free of the strange stone formation, Lin Xian was also slightly surprised. After a while, he stopped paying attention. Instead, he used his martial Dao heavenly eye to look at the strange stones around him. No matter what he did now, it would be futile. Only by fiercely defeating the other party in stone gambling could he extinguish the other party's arrogance. The martial Dao heavenly eye was very mysterious. Lin Xian's eyes were filled with mysterious runes. Soon, Lin Xian's gaze swept across most of the strange stones. Finally, he fixed his eyes on one of them. That rock was only the size of a millstone. It was covered in moss. Furthermore, from its appearance, it resembled a lying tortoise from afar. "This is it." Lin Xian's eyes shone brightly. Countless runes flickered. He waved his hand and called the green tortoise stone to his side. "It's the Spirit Tortoise Divine Stone." Seeing the stone Lin Xian chose, the crowd exclaimed, "This stone must be one of the most expensive stones in the 7th district. The price is at least 5,000 kilograms of substandard divine crystals." Even the eyes of the living fossil elders were shining. They were all excited as if they had been injected with chicken blood. "I had my eyes on this stone previously, but I couldn't bear to cut it open. This time, someone is finally going to cut it open. Yeah, this stone was transported from here and has been here for more than a decade. No one has dared to touch it. I didn't expect this young man called Lin Xian to be so bold as to dare to touch this Spirit Tortoise Divine Stone." Many of the older generation figures were discussing this, and the surrounding cultivators were also shocked. They didn't expect this stone to have such an origin. Even the living fossil elders had their eyes on it. However, they didn't dare to act rashly because it was too valuable. The myriad Thunder Saint and the unfettered Saint frowned when they saw the stone chosen by the other party. They didn't expect the Lin Xian to be so bold. There was naturally a reason why the Spirit Tortoise Divine Stone was known as one of the most important stones. Perhaps it really contained some unique treasure. Therefore, the two saints were a little worried. Tuoba Yi sneered and said, "You are overestimating yourself. How dare you choose the Spirit Tortoise Divine Stone?" However, That requires 5,000 kilograms of substandard divine crystals. Do you have that much money? If you can't take out the money, it would be a joke if you can't cut anything good. Hearing this, everyone's heart skipped a beat. This was indeed a problem. Looking at Lin Xian, he didn't seem to be a disciple of a major sect. It wasn't certain if he could buy this spirit tortoise divine stone. I don't have that many divine crystals. Lin Xian shrugged and admitted, What? No? Hearing this, everyone was in an uproar. They didn't expect Lin Xian to admit that he didn't have money so generously. Chapter 1623. Humph! How dare you cut such a divine stone without money? I think you don't know your limits. Tuoba Yi sneered. He knew that behind this event stood the shadows of the clan of the ancients and the unparalleled sacred grounds. Even the Tuoba family didn't dare to offend such powerful entities. Yet, this kid wanted to gain something without risking anything? How could there be such a good deal? Lin Xian sneered. I don't have so many divine crystals, but that doesn't mean I can't cut this stone. Finishing his statement, he ignored Tuoba Yi and turned to speak to Fatty Luo. Brother Luo, lend me some money? No problem. Fatty Luo laughed, then took out the silver token. I don't have that much money either, but you should be familiar with this token. Take it and ask my grandfather for it. I'm sure you'll be able to get it. Everyone's eyelids twitched when they saw the token. This command medallion had frightened many people. It was definitely a terrifying item. However, more people's mouths twitched. Asking the 10 great villains for money? Why did this sound so unreliable? However, an old fossil in the crowd said, Sure, no problem. But you have to leave this token here first. Okay. Fatty Luo shrugged indifferently, then gave the silver token to the old man who was like a living fossil. Everyone fell silent when they saw this. It seemed that the person behind this stone gambling event had allowed Lin Xian to cut the stone. Tuoba Yi sneered. They thought that Lin Xian would really be able to get the qualifications, which made him very unhappy. Then, he sneered. Let's see how you'll die this time. He didn't believe that Lin Xian could defeat his family's elder, while Lin Xian was dealing with this matter. On the other side, Tuoba Yulong had also chosen a strange stone. The stone he chose was even more peculiar. There were 5 holes on it that were connected. It was very mysterious. 5-hole divine stone. It was also one of the most precious strange stones in the 7th district. Its price even exceeded the one in Lin Xian's hand, reaching 6,000 caddies of divine crystals. However, unlike Lin Xian, Tuoba Yulong paid on the spot. As an elder of the Tuoba family, he could afford to take out 6,000 kilograms of substandard divine crystals. With a wave of his hand, he directly handed over enough demigods. Immediately, everyone became excited, because they knew that the real bet was about to begin. At this moment, Du Fei stood up excitedly. His whole body was agitated, and his eyes were shining brightly. Since the 2 of you have chosen your stones, shouldn't we talk about the stakes? Stone gambling. Naturally, one had to place a bet. Otherwise, it would be meaningless. As for Du Fei, as a gambling addict, he was even more excited. In such a grand occasion, the stakes that the 2 of them brought out would definitely be extraordinary. At this moment, the myriad thunder saint said with a chuckle, I saw Brother Lin's somewhat distressed appearance just now. Let Brother Lin make this bet. Lest we bet too high and Brother Lin can't afford it. How embarrassing would that be? Although he was laughing, his voice was filled with endless mockery. The martialists on the myriad thunder saints' side all laughed as they stared unkindly at Lin Xian. In their opinion, the other party simply wouldn't be able to take out anything good. F***CK. This is too much. The Crimson Dragon and Fatty Luo were furious, while the corners of Lin Xian's lips curled up. His heart was burning a little. Since the other party had asked him to make the bet, this was really good news. However, since the other party had gone too far, there was no need for him to hold back. This time, he had to make the other party bleed a lot. Otherwise, he would really be letting down this time's big bet. Thus, he said with a smile, since you are an elder of the Tuoba family, I believe that you must have a lot of treasures on hand. Plus, if the stakes I take out are too poor, I'm afraid that I won't be giving the elder any face. Therefore, how about this? I will use this weapon as a stake. What do you think? With that, Lin Xian flipped his palm and a small black cauldron appeared in his palm. It kept floating, using a weapon as a stake? Hearing this, the surrounding people were stunned. As for Tuoba Yi, the 10,000 Thunder Saint, and the others, their faces were filled with disdain. With the other party status, he probably wouldn't be able to take out any good weapons. However, in the next moment, when they saw the small black cauldron in Lin Xian's hand, they were all stunned. Among them, Tuoba Yi, the 10,000 Thunder Saint, the unfettered one, and the others' pupils shrank while the surrounding martial artists exclaimed, "Earth-grade treasure." Those who could come to the 7th district weren't weaklings. Naturally, there were experts among them who recognized this weapon. Earth-grade treasure. Lin Xian took it out. It was actually an Earth-grade treasure. Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. Earth-grade treasures weren't common in the eastern wilderness. Normally, only the core disciples and elders of those large sects would have them. Moreover, most of them were Earth-grade low-grade treasures. Lin Xian's 10,000 bee sting was an Earth-grade mid-grade treasure. It could be said that it was very precious. Perhaps only the saints would have such treasures. Even if they did, they wouldn't be willing to take it out as a wager. Therefore, when Lin Xian took out the 10,000 bee sting, everyone was so shocked. Even the 10,000 Thunder Saint and the unfettered saint's eyelids twitched, and their expressions turned ugly. As saints, they naturally had such treasures. However, that was their treasure. How could they be willing to take it out? But now, the other party actually took out an Earth-grade mid-grade treasure. This was indeed out of their expectations. Damn it, how could this kid have such a treasure? Tuoba Yi gritted his teeth, his expression ferocious. Tuoba Yulong's eyes also glowed, and his lips curled into a sinister smile. Then, he said nonchalantly, "It doesn't matter. The better the treasure he takes out, the happier we should be, because that thing will be ours sooner or later." Tuoba Yulong looked at the 10,000 Thunder Saint and the unfettered saint. "Why? You two don't believe in my strength? We don't dare. How could that be?" The 10,000 Thunder Saint and the unfettered saint hurriedly explained. Then, the 10,000 Thunder Saint's eyes glowed. He took a step forward, looked at Lin Xian, and sneered. "Kid, I didn't expect you to be so reckless. You dare to wager such a treasure with me? Fine, I'll make you accept your defeat today. Although an Earth-grade mid-grade weapon is precious, I can take it out." With that, the 10,000 Thunder Saint flipped his palm, and a treasure flickering with lightning appeared in the void. It was a blue hammer that was 1 foot long. It was covered with Dao runes, and lightning flickered around it. It looked like a divine item. What? It's the 10,000 Thunder Hammer. Seeing this thing, everyone exclaimed in surprise. Even the living fossils had grave expressions on their faces. The 10,000 Thunder Hammer was a very famous treasure of the 10,000 Thunder sect. They didn't expect the 10,000 Thunder Saint to use it as a wager. Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. This was definitely a shocking gamble. Chapter 1624. The Myriad Lightning Hammer was a very famous treasure of the Myriad Lightning sect. Who would have thought that the Myriad Lightning Saint would use it as a wager? Everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. This was definitely a huge wager. Perhaps only people at the level of the saint would be able to take out such a bet. A living fossil in the crowd nodded slightly. That's right. The Myriad Lightning Hammer is also a mid-grade Earth-tier treasure. The two are of similar grades. It's worth a wager. Everyone was stirred as they stared at the field. They wanted to know who would emerge victorious in this bet. "Since you're here to give us a treasure, I'll accept it without hesitation." Tuoba Yulong sneered and stepped forward. He clenched his fist and a dagger appeared in his hand. It was a red dagger covered in inscriptions. It was very strange and looked more like a flood dragon. Holding the flood dragon dagger, Tuoba Yulong's aura turned sharp. The purple light in his eyes flourished and connected together. It was like a ball of purple auspicious clouds that enveloped the strange stone he had chosen. Then, he began cutting the stone with the flood dragon dagger. Tuoba Yulong's stone-cutting technique was very strange and much more powerful than Tuoba Ye's. Before long, the five-orifice divine stone gradually shrank. The surrounding air also gradually condensed. No one dared to breathe too loudly. "Brother Lin, do you think that old guy can cut out any treasure?" Fatty Luo asked worriedly. "There's definitely a treasure." As an elder of the Tuoba family, Tuoba Yulong must have extraordinary vision. "There's definitely a treasure inside. As for what it is, I don't know," Lin Xian said in a deep voice. He also activated his martial Dao, Heavenly Eye, and carefully stared ahead. Tuoba Yulong's movements were getting slower and slower, but the purple light in his eyes was getting stronger and stronger. Obviously, he had reached the most crucial part. At this moment, even the myriad lightning saint was nervous. The wager was his weapon. If he lost, he would be too ashamed to return to the sect. Lin Xian also took a deep breath. His eyes shone brightly and covered the stone under his feet. It seemed that he was also preparing to cut the stone. Seeing Lin Xian's actions, the crowd cried out in surprise. At the same time, most of their gazes turned towards him. This was because the spirit turtle divine rock in Lin Xian's possession was also an extremely important wondrous rock. They also wanted to know just what kind of treasure it contained. Even the living fossils of the older generation were very excited. Lin Xian's movements were very fast. He first removed all the rocks around the edges and gradually approached the center. He even cut off a third of the stone with a single slash, which immediately drew cries of surprise. Because this method was too daring. This was a stone bought with 2,500 caddies of subdivinity crystals. Everyone had to be careful when cutting, unlike Lin Xian. It was too casual. However, all of this was within Lin Xian's control. Under the martial Dao Heavenly Eye, nothing could escape his probing. Lin Xian precisely controlled the stone in his hand. Gradually, the stones in his and Tuoba Yulong's hands became smaller and smaller until they were only the size of a soccer ball. However, there was still no light. Could it be that these are two useless stones? Someone saw this and muttered softly, "No way, you're saying that both of them made a mistake?" Heavens, if that's really the case, then this is going to be fun. Two extremely powerful seeker spirit masters had spent a fortune to buy these wondrous stones, but they were actually two useless stones. If this news spread, it would definitely shock the entire eastern wilderness. However, an expert in the crowd snorted. "What do you know? Real treasures won't be too big, especially this kind of extremely precious wondrous stone. There have even been treasures the size of a fingernail in it before. But that's enough to shock the entire eastern wilderness," a powerful expert explained. The crowd calmed down again and watched carefully. Lin Xian ignored the discussion around him. His eyes were extremely bright as he carefully stared at the stone in his hand. His cutting speed was sometimes fast and sometimes slow. When he was slow, he even stopped. When he was fast, it was dazzling. This was a plan before making a decision. Only after Lin Xian used his martial Dao, Heavenly Eye, to see the true situation inside would he act. However, at this moment, everyone exclaimed, because the stone next to Tuoba Yulong in front of them was shining brightly. The rays of light were as red as God's and extremely dazzling. Accompanying it was a terrifying wave of heat. The moment it appeared, the temperature of the entire 7th district continued to rise as if a sun had descended here. The air was distorted from the heat. Everyone was instantly drenched in sweat as if they had been drenched in rain. Even the weaker martial artists were covered in red thorns. They were about to be ignited. Countless martial artists hurriedly circulated their spiritual power to resist, then looked forward in shock. As for the older generation and living fossils, their eyes were shining brightly. They were extremely excited as if they had been injected with chicken blood. And all of this was because of the aura released by the stone in Tuoba Yulong's hand. Needless to say, that stone must contain extremely precious treasures. At this moment, Tuoba Yi, the myriad thunder Saint Sun, the unfettered Saint Sun, and the others were also overjoyed. They stared unblinkingly. Tuoba Yulong's expression was extremely solemn. Fine beads of sweat even seeped out of his forehead. He had no choice. This was the most crucial moment. Now that the treasure had appeared, he had to be even more careful. Otherwise, it would be a great sin if he destroyed even a trace of it. He held the flood dragon dagger and peeled off the stone skin bit by bit. Then, he quickly sealed it with his palm. Strange runes flickered and appeared in the air, sealing the treasure inside the stone to prevent it from losing its energy. Even so, the resplendent red light and the fiery energy still made everyone extremely shocked. At this moment, everyone looked up and carefully looked forward. They wanted to see what kind of treasure it was to have such shocking energy. As for Tuoba Yulong, he put away the flood dragon dagger and carefully held the treasure in his hand. A smug smile bloomed on his withered orange skin face. It was a large crystal with a curved surface. It was red all over like a fireball. It was a divine crystal, and a mutated one with strange attributes. It was definitely a shocking treasure. Everyone was extremely shocked. Many experts were so excited that they trembled. To be honest, all the peerless experts and powerful spirit tamers present had seen some ordinary divine crystals before. Some had even cut them out, but they had never seen a mutated divine crystal with such an attribute. In the past, they had only learned of such things from ancient records. This was the first time they had seen it with their own eyes. Therefore, they were extremely excited. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.